Chapter 42:18. Zichen's soul energy was out of the ordinary. He sensed everyone's intention in advance. At the same time, he also guessed MCMAU's real intention. This area was indeed a land of opportunity. If those 7 stars and 8 stars left after obtaining the opportunity, their future achievements would be limitless. It was hard to say whether they could reach the level of a holy venerable, but there should be some who could reach the level of a half-step holy venerable. However, no one retreated. Either they were unwilling, or their leader did not agree. Then, the original opportunity would become a danger. Zichen looked at these people. Before long, these people would become corpses. Naturally, MCMAU's promise to everyone would no longer need to be fulfilled. Even the resources that everyone obtained along the way would become MCMAU's alone. From the beginning, MCMAU did not intend to let them live. They killed their way to the foot of the mountain. Many people were already injured. A heavy and oppressive aura emerged from the mountain peak. Everyone found that they had lost their ability to fly. When they approached the mountain peak, there was a restriction between heaven and earth. In front of MCMAU, more than 10 rays of light appeared. These were pure royal tribe power and were particularly eye-catching. Everyone's originally weak state seemed to have recovered a little after sensing these royal tribe power. MCMAU said in a low voice, "If you successfully reach the mountain peak, everyone will be rewarded with a royal tribe power. The gains along the way will still be yours." With such a high reward, everyone's eyes burned with passion. MCMAU said, "Trust me, as long as you follow me, you will have endless resources. Everyone take a short break, then we'll kill our way to the mountain peak. That's our destination this time." Everyone was unusually excited. Their expressions were particularly agitated because they did not know what kind of powerful existence was on the mountain peak. In other directions, some people had already killed their way to the mountain peak. However, this path was not easy to walk on. Those places had already suffered heavy casualties. Zichen had reason to believe that with MCMAU's connections, he had discovered the abnormality in advance. After 2 hours, everyone finished resting and began to climb the mountain. Rays of light fell from the sky and turned into Devil Clan creatures. Mo Xian looked at the Devil Clan creatures in front of him and said coldly, "Everyone, don't hold back. Attack with all your might." Zichen had a Demon Clan saber in his hand. This was the spoils of war he obtained after killing a 9-star Saint Spirit Demon Snake Guard commander. The broadsword had already undergone a small refinement, and at this moment, it had merged with Zichen's aura, so no flaws could be seen. "I'll go first." Zichen gripped his large saber and rushed forward. Demonic energy surged on the saber, and a powerful aura flowed out. Wang! The long blade in Zichen's hand trembled, and his magic power began to surge. Circles of ripples spread out with him as the center. At that moment, everyone nearby felt threatened, including the 9-star Saint Spirits. World annihilation / With a low shout, a black demon chi burst out. The demonic chi instantly pierced through the bodies of the 2 demonic creatures in front of him and sent the third flying. When the saber light disappeared, Zichen's face immediately turned pale. His aura also became extremely weak, and his body staggered, almost falling. He held his saber in one hand and walked forward, picking up the 2 pure energy lights. However, he did not take them both. He only kept one of them and threw the other to Mo Xian, who was stunned. "I don't have the strength to attack for now. The rest is up to you." Zichen walked toward the back of the team, his face still pale. His saber strike had shocked many people. Mo Xian was a little scared. He thought that this guy was not much, but he did not expect him to be so powerful. Fortunately, it was only 1 strike. If he could be so powerful for more than 10 consecutive strikes, how terrifying would that be? There was also a look of surprise in Mo Wuju's eyes. At that moment, a sense of appreciation for talent was born in his heart. An 8-star already had such combat strength. What if he reached 9-star? He glanced at the fiend celestial beast beside him. The latter's eyes seemed to be filled with disdain. Zichen walked to the back of the team after his saber strike. He was considered safe now. The others continued to attack. Some people were injured, and soon, there were casualties. After one person died, Mo Wuju said in a low voice, "Continue to advance. I'll give the dead person an extra royal power. When the time comes, I'll have someone send it back to his family. Also, the spoils that belong to him will be sent back as well." Initially, there were still people who wanted to collect their companions' corpses. However, after hearing Mo Wuju's words, they dismissed the idea. After all, he was an existence with a fiend celestial beast. He would not care about these resources, so it was necessary to keep his word. Mo Wuju's people went forward and collected the corpses. As they reached the top, one existence after another died in battle. The first to die were 7 stars. After the team was reorganized again and again, the number of people became fewer and fewer. When they reached 1/3 of the summit, Zi Chen, whose face had become rosy, walked back into the team. However, he only followed the team and did not attack immediately. Because his techniques were too powerful, they could only serve as a deterrent, or he could only attack at the critical moment. It was unknown whether it was intentional or not, but Zi Chen still stayed beside Mo Xian and the others. This made them feel more at ease. After a cup of tea's worth of time, danger struck. Just as death enveloped them, a black waterfall lit up. 3 demonic tribe creatures lost their heads and became 3 forces. When the danger disappeared, Mo Xian and the others had lingering fear on their faces. When they looked at the pale-faced Zi Chen again, there was only gratitude in their eyes. If it were not for Zi Chen, they would have been annihilated. Zi Chen continued to retreat, not even taking the 3 forces. The 3 9-star saint spirits who followed him divided these forces. Zi Chen, who was walking out of the team, swallowed a demonic tribe medicinal pill so that he could recover quickly. When they reached 2/3 of the summit, Zi Chen recovered once again. This time, he joined the team and did not use any killing moves. Instead, he used ordinary strength to resist. This was because if he attacked now and became weak, the others would definitely not give him a chance to rest. Too many people had died. Perhaps after they reached the summit, there would not be many people left alive. After a long battle and sacrificing the lives of many Saint Venerables, the team finally reached the summit. There were 5 9-star saint spirits left, and 4 of them were from MCMAU. As for the 8-star saint spirits, there were only 4 left, and these 4 were from the same team. Mo Xian was still alive. This was because Zi Chen had helped them several times during this period. That was why the 4 of them were able to survive. At this moment, their eyes were filled with gratitude toward Zi Chen. If it were not for Zi Chen, they would have died long ago. However, just as they reached the summit, before they could react, a tall demonic figure appeared in front of them. The figure was 3 feet tall, and the aura emitted from its body was extremely terrifying. Everyone's expression changed. In the previous battle, they were already severely injured. Now that they did not have much strength left, how could they fight against such a powerful existence? Someone looked back at MCMAU. Until now, he had not made a move and had been conserving his strength. His fiend celestial beast was obviously very powerful, but it had been following behind without making a move. The only 9-star saint spirit present said, "Sir, we have no more strength to fight. We hope you can help us." This time, they had recruited many 9-star saint spirits, but only one of them was alive. The other 4 were originally from MCMAU. "You've all done well. After I kill this beast, everyone will be rewarded." MCMAU walked forward. The fiend celestial beast slowed down slightly. The 4 9-star saint spirits stepped aside, and MCMAU walked forward alone. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. There was no need to fight anymore. Zi Chen was the only one who knew that everyone's mission had been completed. Next, it was time for them to show their true colors. Their lives began to count down. MCMAU was worthy of having a fiend celestial beast. He only used 1 punch to repel the tall creature. A ripple spread out, bringing with it a terrifying hurricane. The few people nearby retreated, as if they could not even stand properly. The tall creature immediately retreated, stumbling. MCMAU was also pushed back a few steps. His face was slightly pale, and his right hand that had punched was trembling slightly. The fiend celestial beast that had appeared behind him unknowingly opened its mouth. As if a huge black hole had opened, it swallowed his opponent in one gulp. When the retreating crowd saw this, they could not help but be stunned. The biggest threat was taken care of just like that. This was too powerful. Everyone was shocked, but they also felt melancholy. If they had attacked earlier, they believed that at least half of the people here would have died. This sadness disappeared in a flash. It was not easy to fight their way to the top of the mountain and survive. Now, it was time to reap the rewards. At this moment, MCMAU came back to his senses. Everyone's faces were filled with anticipation. However, MCMAU only snorted coldly. This stunned everyone, and they were somewhat puzzled. MCMAU walked forward. When he reached the top, ripples appeared, and then the ripples turned into a passageway. Looking at the passageway in front of him, MCMAU's eyes were filled with fanaticism. The fiend celestial beast that had just swallowed a powerful creature was also breathing faster. The real opportunity was in this place. When the others saw the passageway in front of them, they were all very surprised. They were very concerned about the power of the royalty, but they did not disturb MCMAU at this moment. Instead, they waited quietly. However, what they waited for was MCMAU taking a step forward and disappearing with the fiend celestial beast. "Sir, this?" asked the 9-star Saint Spirit. However, before he could finish his sentence, a sharp blade appeared behind him and pierced through his back, completely penetrating his heart. The 9-star Holy Spirit turned around slowly and glanced at the person who attacked. Just a moment ago, they were still fighting side by side. Mo Xian and the others were shocked. He shouted out involuntarily, "What are you doing?" Zi Chen said calmly from the side, "Is there a need to ask?" "Of course, we're silencing them and robbing them of their resources." "Are you really waiting for them to keep their promise?" Shi Li, who had killed the 9-star Holy Spirit, turned around and smiled at Zi Chen. "Smart." Mo Xian and the other two's expressions changed drastically. "Why is that? Didn't we have an agreement before?" The three began to retreat. They were already injured and had consumed a lot of energy. How could they be a match for 4 9-star Holy Spirits? Suddenly, Mo Xian saw Zi Chen and realized that he was fearless. He did not know whether Zi Chen had the strength or not, so he immediately shouted, "Sir, save me." The other two also had pleading looks on their faces. Shi Li said disdainfully, "Count on him? He's the same as you guys. He's just an 8-star Holy Spirit. He can't even protect himself now." Zi Chen glanced at the three and said, "The reason why I saved you guys is to let you know that even if you don't die in battle, you'll still die in the end." When they were recruiting you guys, they had this idea and thought, "Do you really think the power of the royalty is that easy to obtain? It's just bait to lure you guys into it and bury your own lives. Even if you're lucky enough to survive, they'll stab you in the back." Zi Chen sighed. "It's impossible to get the resources because they're all theirs, including your harvest." Mo Xian and the other two were in despair. Shi Li smiled. "I didn't expect you to be so smart. I don't want to kill you anymore." Zi Chen glanced at Mo Xian and said, "Although I have the ability to save you now, I'm sorry, I don't plan to do so. Because you guys had ideas about me before, you deserve to die." The three were even more desperate. It was the despair after seeing hope. Zi Chen paused for a moment and said, "But don't worry, you won't die in vain. Not only will I kill the 4 of them to avenge you, but I'll also kill Mo Wuju and his fiend celestial beast to avenge you. Just like how they invited you to join the team, you're destined to die. Since I've joined the team, they're destined to die." Hearing this, Mo Xian and the other two did not know whether to laugh or cry. Shi Li laughed. "This is the biggest joke I've heard in my life." Zi Chen added, "And the last joke." Suddenly, Zi Chen said, "No, you can hear one more joke. You know that the demonic snake guards suffered heavy casualties and even many 9-star commanders died, right?" Zi Chen pointed at himself. "I was the one who killed those people. It's a joke, right?" Zi Chen's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was at the back of Shi Li's group. With a loud bang, a 9-star Saint Spirit who tried to escape through the passage was forcefully pushed back. After landing, he began coughing up blood. His face was filled with horror. The other three's faces changed. They immediately turned to look at Zichen. Their expressions became solemn. At this moment, no one thought that Zichen was joking. You ran away in fear when others said a few jokes. Are you still a 9-star saint spirit? Zichen held the long saber and smiled faintly. There are more jokes. Keep listening. This saber is not my weapon. I got it from killing a 9-star commander. It's my trophy, but it's enough to kill all of you. The expressions of the 4 9-star saint spirits began to change. Zichen added, did you guys think that my saber strike was quite strong and posed quite a threat to you guys? To tell you the truth, I can use that kind of saber strike 1,000 times without feeling tired. The 4 were in despair. At this moment, the black saber flashed and illuminated their eyes. Chapter 42:19. Now that MCMAU had entered the Devil God's relic, the real opportunity had just begun. Looking at the densely packed Devil Clan creatures in front of him, MCMAU sneered. The real danger has begun. Something appeared in his hand. It was a small black bowl, about the size of a palm. Devil power surged into the small bowl, and it immediately flew into the air and began to expand. Then, one figure after another appeared. These were all devils, and their auras were strong. The weakest among them was an 8-star Holy Spirit, and their auras were very close. They were all well trained. These were MCMAU's real trump cards. The ones he had recruited before were just cannon fodder. Why aren't they back yet? MCMAU looked behind him. The 4 of them should not have taken so long to deal with this. Whatever, let's kill our way in first. Obviously, he was not willing to waste his time for these 4 people. Asterisk 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 3 9-star Holy Spirits had fallen, and only Shi Li was left. Mo Xian and the other 2 were still alive, but they did not feel happy because Zichen had made it clear that no one would survive in the end. Zichen kept the corpses of the 3 9-star Holy Spirits and smiled faintly. Look, I'm the one who has the last laugh. Shi Li no longer had the arrogance from before. At this moment, his eyes were full of fear. The reason he was still alive was not because of how strong he was, but because Zichen had held back. It was on purpose. Zichen looked at the 4 people and said, which one of you will die first? Mo Xian begged in fear. Sir, please spare my life. I was wrong. I'm willing to give you everything I have. Zichen said faintly, after I kill you, your things are still mine. Tell me, who will die first? Mo Xian wanted to beg again. Zichen said, I'll tell you another secret. I'm not actually from the Devil Clan. I'm from the Spirit Clan. The reason why I came to the Devil Clan is to destroy this plan. At this moment, Mo Xian was completely desperate. He no longer begged for mercy. After knowing this biggest secret, he believed that he would not be able to survive. Since he couldn't live, he might as well accept his death. He pointed at Shi Li and said, can you cut this guy into 8 pieces? Shi Li angrily said, you are courting death. Mo Xian laughed coldly and said, it's all because of you, damn you. You tricked us into joining you. So what if we cut you into 8 pieces? He looked at the other 2 and said, what do you think? The 2 immediately nodded in agreement. The minority obeys the majority. Zichen took out his saber and cut off one of Shi Li's arms. The second cut off both of his arms and legs. Mo Xian and the other 2 laughed sinisterly. At this moment, they were feeling extremely carefree. This could be considered as someone taking revenge for him. Shi Li began to curse. Zichen cut a few more times, and it was exactly 8 pieces. Shi Li's soul was destroyed and he died. Zichen put away the incomplete corpse. These corpses could be used to condense the power of the demon race. Most importantly, they had the harvest of everyone before. Zichen looked at the 3 of them. Since we're all on the same team, I'll let the 3 of you kill yourselves. Or rather, if you want to fight it out, that's fine too. Pu. 2 sharp blades, one on the left and one on the right, pierced through the bodies of the 2 people beside him. Mo Xian held the blades in his hands with a sinister smile on his face. The 2 people fell into a pool of blood. Zichen's expression was calm. Plop. Mo Xian knelt on the ground and said, "Please spare my life. From now on, I will be your slave or servant. It will all be up to you." Zichen shook his head and said, "I don't need it." "Kill yourself." Mo Xian unwillingly said, "Please reconsider. Mo Xian will be loyal to you until death." Zichen continued to shake his head, "I don't dare to accept your loyalty." "Then you can go die." A cold light suddenly flew out from the ground under Zichen's feet and slanted towards Zichen's chin. This was a forceful attempt to pierce through Zichen's head. Mo Xian's eyes were fixed in front of him. His expression was sinister and filled with endless hatred. 2 fingers forcefully pinched the sharp blade, causing Mo Xian's attack to miss. Zichen said indifferently, "Until you reach a certain height, you won't know what kind of power we have. What you think is a covert action is a complete joke to me." A black light flew out from Zichen's sea of consciousness. It turned into a black soul lightsaber and sank into Mo Xian's sea of consciousness. Mo Xian's widened eyes immediately lost their luster. The trembling sharp blade also calmed down under Zichen's 2 fingers. Mo Xian raised his head and fell down. Zichen walked forward and collected the 3 corpses. At this point, all the rewards of MCMAU's recruitment were in Zichen's hands. Zichen looked at the passageway in front of him that had not yet closed and said, "MCMAU, it's your turn now." Zichen walked into the passageway. With a series of ripples, Zichen appeared in an empty space. There were traces of a battle ahead, but MCMAU's figure was nowhere to be seen. It seemed that during the time he was delayed, the other party had already gone deep in. Zichen looked at these traces of a battle and realized that they were not left behind by one person. It seemed that a large army had passed through here. Zichen was not surprised. Looks like MCMAU brought people here. Initially, Zichen found it strange. Based on MCMAU's network, how could they only bring 4 9-star Saint Spirits over? Now he understood. Zichen walked forward. However, just as he arrived at the battlefield, a bright light shone down. The demonic creatures that had been cleaned up before had appeared once again. Moreover, there were quite a number of them. Looking at these Devil Clan creatures, Zichen was a little surprised. He was slightly startled, but he did not pay too much attention to it because in the next moment, he called out the spectre again. Seeing these Devil Clan creatures, the spectre's eyes began to shine. Without needing Zichen's instructions, the spectre charged forward. This time, it did not use its killing technique. Although it could not kill a group at once, its combat strength was not weak at all. Zichen walked forward. A black hurricane appeared beside him. This hurricane was not created by Zichen using his power, but by the spectre's high-speed rotation. All the Devil Clan creatures that rushed toward Zichen would be killed and then devoured by the spectre. It was just that the spectre's speed was so fast that its body disappeared, leaving only after images. Previously, MCMAU was unwilling to take action himself because he wanted to preserve his strength. Right now, Zichen was also planning to do the same. However, the spectre beside him was already comparable to MCMAU's entire demonic tribe army. Zichen walked directly toward the end. Along the way, his soul explored the surroundings but did not find any opportunities. It seemed that he had to keep walking. Chapter 42:20. A black basilica appeared in front of MCMAU. More than half of the great army he brought with him had died in battle, and the rest were also badly wounded. It was not easy to make it here. It required countless lives to fill in. Fortunately, he had finally made it here. If the news is true, then there's something left behind by the demon god in this basilica. As long as I bring the fiend celestial beast, I can take it away without a hitch. MCMAU's eyes became fanatical. At this moment, there was a strange movement behind him. It's them. MCMAU turned around. His field of vision was empty. He released his soul power and found something unusual. His expression changed. It's him. Within the range of his soul power, Zichen was killing the enemy alone. The place where the great army had cleared out earlier was filled with demon tribe creatures. While he was surprised, MCMAU was also shocked. He could make it here because of the great army beside him. However, Chen was alone. How did he make it here? What about Shi Li and the others? Why did they not appear? The four of them working together should be able to kill a mere 8-star Holy Spirit. Initially, he had planned to look for the opportunity immediately. However, he decided to postpone it. After all, no one would come here again. He would see what Chen had up his sleeves. Chen had not appeared in his field of vision yet, but MCMAU could see him clearly with his soul power. Gradually, his expression changed again. Those demon tribe creatures could not get close to Chen at all. Any existence that tried to rush toward Chen would be sent flying by Chen. MCMAU could see Chen with his soul power. Of course, Chen could see him as well. He had noticed MCMAU even earlier, so he had Spectre hide again. He faced the demon tribe creatures alone for the rest of the journey. He had also noticed the basilica and noticed MCMAU's gaze. He could even see the subtle changes in the other party's expression clearly. He moved forward at a steady pace. In his mind, he was thinking about how to catch all those people in one fell swoop. Chen finally appeared in his field of vision, and all the demons were finally cleared out. MCMAU looked at Chen and said indifferently, "I didn't expect you to have such combat strength. You hid it well. Your men are all dead," said Chen. "It's your turn now." "Really?" MCMAU laughed mockingly. "You want to kill me? Have you asked them?" The people who were still recuperating got up one by one and stood in front of Chen. Murderous intent started to surge around them. Chen said, "They are already so seriously injured, and you still want them to fight. MCWU do, I advise you to be kind. How about this, you and I will fight to the death. After you die, I promise to let them all live." Mo Wuju coldly said, "Your plan to sow discord is useless against them. If I die here today, they won't be able to leave alive." "I see." Chen nodded, indicating that he understood. Then he looked at the great hall in front of him and asked, "What is that?" "Do you think I'll tell you?" asked MCMAU. Chen said, "Between you and me, one of us has to die. If you die, you'll take the secret here with you. Isn't that a pity? Of course, if you have the ability to kill me, the secret will still be yours alone. Why, do you not have confidence in yourself, or do you feel fear in your heart?" MCMAU snorted. "I don't know who you are, or what trump cards you used to get here, but I know very well that you will definitely die." Chen said, "Then let's share the secret here." MCMAU glanced at his subordinates. He had not given the order to fight yet, so they were still standing where they were, recuperating. He said, "As you can see, there's a great hall here. Legend has it that the devil god built it specially back then, and left something in the great hall." Chen asked, "How do you know?" "You don't have to worry about that." MCMAU said, "There is more than one great hall like this, so whether there is anything good in it, it all depends on luck." He pointed to the great hall behind him and said, "Only by walking here can you be considered to have truly stepped into the devil god's ruins. The things before are nothing. Legend has it that only by obtaining the thing inside can you be qualified to obtain the devil god's final legacy, and ultimately become the new devil god." This was a secret. It was even a huge secret. It was also the devil world's biggest secret, and MCMAU had told Chen just like that. From this point, it was enough to see the other party's complete confidence in winning. Chen shook his head and said, "What a pity." "What's a pity?" asked MCMAU. "It seems that the devil god really put in a lot of effort for the future development of the devil clan. First, it was as if he had given away his power for free, then this great hall. Unfortunately, because of your greed, you wanted to take everything for yourself, causing the death of countless holy spirits. A resource that was supposed to make you strong, but it became something that harmed you. You really wasted the devil god's painstaking efforts." Chen sighed, feeling very regretful. After this incident, Chen believed that the devil world would definitely be affected. Even the speed of their attack on the Holy Spirit world would have to be slowed down. MCMAU laughed coldly. "So what? Those who died were just some outsiders. As long as we can grow stronger, it's fine." Chen could not refute that MCMAU was wrong, because this was what most people thought. The devil world was like this, and so was the Holy Spirit world. MCMAU pointed behind him and said, "I'll be waiting for you inside with the resources left behind by the devil god. Don't let me down, okay?" After saying that, MCMAU turned around and walked into the depths. Those who had been temporarily healed earlier charged at Zichen. Zichen looked at these people and shook his head in pity. "Why are you in such a hurry to die?" He immediately retreated, and behind him, an open passage appeared. Zichen entered the passage. The Devil Clan could not help but look stunned, as if they were hesitating. At this moment, the passage began to close. They no longer hesitated and entered madly. The passage came from Zichen's great hall. At this moment, Zichen was standing in his own great hall. Su the hall spirit looked at Zichen and said unhappily, "You're cheating." Zichen said, "Isn't this a special time?" "Of course, special treatment is needed. The devil god's ruins are of no use to you. Why do you care so much?" Su the hall spirit said, "Speaking of which, you still don't want to fight." Chapter 42:21. Back then, when Zichen saw MCMU's fiend celestial beast, his expression became strange. That was because it was clearly a standing pig, or rather, a battle pig. It looked very funny, but everyone was very shocked. At that time, Zichen looked down on that pig, but its aura was very similar to Spectre's. Of course, Spectre's aura was much purer than its. It was not easy for Zichen to obtain the spirit. Part of it was the mysterious ghost spirit holy talisman, while the other part was formed from the ghost spirit cultivation method. After various fortuitous encounters, the two finally merged to form the spirit. Zichen had witnessed the strength of Spectre. Back then, he was lost in that world because of Spectre's soul-devouring technique, but Spectre was not lost. It reminded him several times to wake him up. This time, MCMAU came here to find opportunities with the help of that pig. Zichen had a Spectre with a purer aura, so naturally, he wanted to give it a try. Su the hall spirit glanced at Zichen and said, "Just this once." Zichen grinned, and his figure disappeared into thin air. The demons who entered this place would never be able to leave, and they would never be able to survive. After appearing, Zichen walked forward. The door of the main hall was already closed. He walked to the door, exerted force with both hands, and pushed forward. The door of the main hall opened slowly, and Zichen walked in. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In Zichen's field of vision, there were some corpses lying haphazardly. Those corpses were incomplete, probably the work of that pig beside MCMAU. The air was filled with a considerable amount of pressure. Every step forward seemed to be carrying a heavy load. If what happened before was an opportunity, then this was a test. MCMAU could kill its way in, proving that it had some tricks up its sleeve. Of course, it was only a few tricks. The main hall in front was closed. Zichen walked to the door. He pushed the door again. A torrent seemed to appear in front of him, and countless lights appeared in Zichen's field of vision. A powerful black claw appeared in the light, going straight for Zichen's neck. Zichen raised his palm, and magic bloomed in his palm. With a loud bang, Zichen took a few steps back. The light in front of him disappeared. Zichen saw the pig-like fiend celestial beast. There was a hint of surprise in its blood-red eyes. Zichen looked ahead through the open palace doors. He saw MCMAU standing there, his entire body bathed in black light, as if he was receiving some kind of inheritance. Zichen's figure disappeared. In the next moment, he arrived in front of the fiend celestial beast. With a loud bang, the fiend celestial beast was sent flying. Its body smashed into Mo Wuju's body, interrupting the other party's opportunity. Of course, when he saw Z, he was in the end. When he saw Zichen, he was in the end. In the end, he came here, he was alone, he came here to obtain the opportunity here alone. To prevent that. Who would have thought that the other party would arrive so quickly? You're courting death. The Fiend Celestial's inheritance was interrupted. MCMAU was enraged. With a roar, he charged towards Zichen. Above his clenched fist, a demonic shadow appeared. A powerful aura enveloped the surroundings. Zichen's expression did not change when he saw this punch. He clenched his fist and attacked. His punch was not as violent as MCMAU's. However, when he punched, the surrounding space seemed to have changed. MCMAU's expression changed. This was caused by the power being condensed to a limit. He did not expect the other party, who was only an 8-star, to have such brilliant control of power. Zichen's punch looked steady and not fast. However, the oppressive aura made it impossible for MCMAU to change his move. The two fists met, and energy surged out. A magic ripple visible to the naked eye wreaked havoc in the hall. Zichen's body swayed slightly as he stood on the spot while Mo Wuju took a few steps back. "Is this your power? That's all there is to it." Zichen smiled faintly. His tone was calm, but the sarcasm was obvious. That punch was not weak, but in the Saint Spirit realm, it was far from the top of the group of people. "Who exactly are you?" MCMAU looked at Zichen in shock. An 8-star could force him to retreat. This was the first time in his life. "After being tricked by you, I'm angry and decided to fight back and take revenge," Zichen said with a smile. "You're courting death." MCMAU's single eye flashed coldly. He began to form a seal in his hand. A huge demonic spear loomed. The oppressive aura around them became stronger. The floor of the hall seemed to have begun to tremble slightly. Zichen looked at MCMAU quietly. He did not deliberately accumulate power. "Go to hell." The long spear trembled and charged toward Zichen like a bolt of black lightning. The distance between the two parties was not far. At this moment, MCMAU attacked with all his might. This attack arrived in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the fiend celestial beast that quietly appeared behind Zichen also launched an attack at Zichen. "Looks like you've used this move quite often. You've connected it well." Zichen smiled faintly. He did not seem to use any force, but two rays of light appeared on their own. One of them turned into an ancient shield and appeared behind Zichen on its own, blocking the fiend celestial beast's attack. A long spear appeared in front of Zichen. He used the spear as a staff and immediately smashed it down. With a boom, the long spear that was completely condensed from demonic power exploded. After the ancient shield blasted away the fiend celestial beast, it arrived in front of Zichen. Zichen held a spear and a shield in one hand. He looked at MCMAU with a slightly provocative gaze. "What other tricks do you have? Feel free to use them." MCMAU's expression began to change. "What, do you have a trump card that you can't bear to use?" Zichen's figure disappeared into thin air. In the next moment, he appeared in front of the pig-like fiend celestial beast. Two flashes of light could be seen. During this time, the sound of power colliding could be heard. After about 100 collisions, the fiend celestial beast was sent flying and its body crashed heavily onto the ground. The fiend celestial beast fell to the ground and coughed up blood. It was no match for Zichen at all. MCMAU, whose expression had changed, no longer hesitated. With a wave of his hand, a pagoda appeared in front of him. The pagoda was 7 stories tall and its surface was flowing with demonic light. "Suppress!" MCMAU roared angrily. The pagoda flew high into the sky and expanded wildly. The rules in the surroundings seemed to be drawn in. Zichen felt his body being restrained. Just as he was slightly surprised, the pagoda descended from the sky and enveloped Zichen. At this moment, at the lowest level of the pagoda, a human-shaped pattern appeared. It was Zichen's appearance, like a carving. "Damn it, I actually have to waste a demon suppression pagoda to kill you. What a loss." Chapter 42-22. Zichen's body was already enveloped by the pagoda. The black pagoda began to shrink, spinning in the air until it was the size of an ordinary pagoda. Mo Wuju waved his hand, and the pagoda landed in his hand. Looking at the seal on the first layer that belonged to Zichen, a look of pain flashed across his eyes. D***MNit, this was prepared for dealing with a half-step holy venerable. "I didn't expect to use it on an idiot like you first." Mo Wuju said unhappily, "This is a huge loss." This pagoda was one of his trump cards, reserved for great use. Unexpectedly, at this moment, cracks suddenly appeared on the pagoda where Zi Chen had engraved the seal. This made Mo Wuju's expression change abruptly. Even against a half-step holy venerate, Xiao Chen's pagoda could hold its ground. How could it not trap a mere 8-star holy spirit? With a loud boom, the pagoda's layer that sealed Zi Chen shattered, and the powerful force directly pushed Mo Wuju back. The pagoda began to spin in the air, and a ray of light flew out from the shattered layer. It was Zi Chen. He glanced at the pagoda and said, "Your power is not bad, but if you want to trap me, you're still a little lacking." Mo Wuju's hand seals appeared again, and the shattered layer of the pagoda fell off on its own. The original 7-story pagoda turned into a 6-story pagoda. The 6-story pagoda's surface glowed, and it looked like a complete whole. There was no sign of damage at all. Zi Chen was rather surprised by this. "Let's see how many times you can break it." Mo Wuju's single eye flashed coldly, and he once again controlled the pagoda to fall toward Zi Chen. As expected, Zi Chen was trapped inside. This time, Mo Wuju did not dare to be careless. He immediately used his soul power to start sealing the pagoda layer by layer. But it was useless. After just 3 breaths, the pagoda exploded. It was still the layer that trapped Zi Chen that was forcibly broken through. "Let's try again." Zi Chen, who had successfully escaped, looked at Mo Wuju and said. Mo Wuju gritted his teeth and continued to control the pagoda. The 6-story pagoda turned into a 5-story pagoda, and then trapped Zi Chen inside. Boom! Zi Chen forcibly broke open the pagoda. At that moment, the pagoda had 4 floors. Countless black lights were flowing on its surface. Even though the number of floors was very low, for some reason, it gave Zi Chen a powerful feeling. "Do you dare to try again?" MCMAU asked alone. "Then let's do it again," Zi Chen said in a low voice. MCMAU alone controlled the 4-story pagoda to descend. Seeing that Zi Chen was about to be enveloped by the pagoda, the corners of his mouth could not help but curl up into a smile as if his scheme had succeeded. This pagoda was no ordinary pagoda. Once it reached the 4th level, it would no longer seal the power of one level, but the power of all 4 levels at the same time. Under such circumstances, they could safely trap a half-step holy venerate. Although it was somewhat wasteful to deal with Zi Chen, this seemed to be the only way. When the 4-story pagoda fell, Zi Chen's figure disappeared. MCMAU laughed alone. Just then, a mocking voice rang out from behind him. "Aren't you smiling a little too early?" Demonic light flowed on MCMAU's body. He immediately turned around. A fist whistled through the air and landed on his opponent's face. It directly sent MCMAU flying. The 4-story pagoda, which had missed its target, continued to rise into the air and descend towards Zi Chen. "Do you really think I'm stupid?" Zi Chen laughed disdainfully. His figure disappeared again, avoiding the pagoda's seal. However, the 4-story pagoda followed him like a shadow. It seemed that it would not disappear until it caught Zi Chen. Zi Chen appeared in several places, and the pagoda followed. "Since you want to follow me so much, I'll accept you." Zi Chen's figure disappeared again. However, at the place where he disappeared, a ripple passage appeared. The 4-story pagoda crashed into it. When it encountered the ripple, it sensed that something was wrong and wanted to escape. With Palace Spirit Su around, Zi Chen did not even look at the pagoda. Unless the pagoda was a venerable level true treasure personally refined by a holy venerable, it would not be able to escape the seal of the Zi Chen Palace. MCMAU lost his sense of the pagoda. His heart trembled. This guy named Zi Chen had given him too many surprises today. He glanced at the Fiend Celestial Beast. The Fiend Celestial Beast charged toward Zi Chen again. The spear was like a stick, drawing a half-arc in the sky. With a bang, the Fiend Celestial Beast flew backward. It was no match for him at all. MCMAU said, "Forget it. I'll admit that you have great power. It's time for us to show our strength." The Fiend Celestial Beast stood up and looked at Zi Chen with resentment. MCMAU continued, "At first, I thought that I had many trump cards on me. This time, I should be able to go far. Along the way, I deliberately did not use too much power. I didn't expect to meet you. If that's the case, Then I'll treat you as my mortal enemy. The fiend celestial beast turned into a ray of light and flew toward MCMAU, disappearing into his long robe. Then, an indescribably strong aura erupted from MCMAU's body. Is this the fusion technique? Zichen's expression became serious. At this moment, MCMAU gave him a strong sense of threat. This was something that had never happened before. After all, after advancing to 8-star, Zichen's combat strength was already unrivaled among holy spirits. Go to hell! MCMAU smashed down with a fist, the force of his fist rolling toward him. In front of Zichen, a light shield bloomed, blocking in front of him. Just a mere demonic weapon. Watch how I break it. With a loud bang, Zichen's figure retreated. The light on the light shield gradually faded, but it was still intact. This weapon had an extraordinary origin. It was not something that a mere 9-star Holy Spirit could break. Then let's do it again. MCMAU threw 3 consecutive punches. Zichen retreated continuously, but the light shield was still intact. The quality is not bad. I'll take it. MCMAU laughed. Zichen said sarcastically, you? His figure flashed, his feet moving strangely, quickly approaching MCMAU. The spear and shield in his hands disappeared at the same time, and he only used his fists. You have a death wish. MCMAU's attack landed, but Zichen dodged it instantly, punching toward the opponent's side. Combat arts. After one punch, Zichen's figure flashed again, followed by a second punch and a third punch. After 10 punches in a row, MCMAU's figure began to stagger, unable to maintain his center of gravity. Zichen was still punching, neither fast nor slow. Soon, 15 punches had been thrown. His punches came one after another, and the power in them kept pouring in. During this time, there would always be a portion of energy that would be quietly hidden. This was the essence of combat arts. After 30 punches, MCMAU's attacks became fewer and fewer. After 50 punches, almost all of them were in a defensive state. After 80 punches, MCMAU could no longer control his own body. After that, each of Zichen's punches was full force, hitting his opponent until he continuously changed directions. After the 90th punch, MCMAU's body smashed into the ground. Zichen, whose face was slightly pale, said, "Die." A light erupted from MCMAU's body, and his body was split into 2. Chapter 42-23. Mo Wuju stood up awkwardly. The fiend celestial beast beside him was dispirited, no longer as arrogant as before. Zichen looked at the man and beast, asking, "How do you feel?" Mo Wuju's eyes were full of resentment. This unknown guy had extraordinarily strong combat power, but in the entire Saint Spirit realm, he had never heard of such a person. Who was he? Where did he come from? This was the question that Mo Wuju wanted to know the most, but there was no point in asking now. Because one of them had to die, and it had to be Zichen. Mo Wuju looked at Zichen and said coldly, "I admit that you're the biggest enemy I've ever met. So today, you must die." Zichen said lightly, "Because you're seriously injured now?" Makutu pointed at the top of his head and said, "Earlier, even though you interrupted my opportunity, I still have some connection with this place and know what the inheritance here is. Now, even if I risk the backlash of the inheritance, I still have to kill you, right? Because right now, nothing is more important than one's own life." Zichen wanted to say that there was nothing wrong with the other party's logic, but it was useless in front of him. Mo Wuju looked at the fiend celestial beast again, saying, "Old friend, I'll have to trouble you. We have to live, don't we?" The fiend celestial beast coughed up 3 mouthfuls of blood. These 3 mouthfuls were all essence blood. After spitting it out, its aura became even more dispirited, as if even its realm had dropped. The essence blood spread in the sky, turning into a bloody mist that flew into the sky. The bloody mist turned into an eye in the sky, a bloody eye. At the same time, the fiend celestial beast merged with Mo Wuju again. During this time, Mo Wuju kept coughing up blood. It could be seen that after merging again, the other party's condition became very bad. His face was pale and his spirit was dispirited, but his eyes were still full of resentment when he looked at Zichen. Go to hell. In the sky, the bloody eye began to shine. At the same time, there was a power that floated down from the palace. That power was mysterious and powerful. It was the true power of the demon god. Under the infusion of the demon god's power, the bloody eye became the eye of the demon god. The blood-red eye glowed as it looked at Zichen. Zichen, who was already on guard, felt a strange power enter his eyes and then his sea of consciousness. He stood there motionlessly as the light in his eyes slowly faded away. Asterisk 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 asterisk. What are you doing? Zichen looked at the young boy in front of him, a look of panic in his eyes. Zichen, we're brothers, the young man said with a laugh, then strode forward. He opened his arms and wanted to hug Zichen. Zichen didn't know why, but when he saw his good brother in front of him, he actually felt a sense of resistance. He really wanted to retreat and get rid of the other party, but his body wasn't under his control. The young man approached him and gave him a firm hug. In this cold and windy world, he could clearly feel the warmth of the hug. At this moment, the resistance in his heart seemed to lessen. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. It was as if a sharp blade had pierced through his heart. The good brother in front of him had a sinister smile on his face, like an evil spirit that had crawled out of the abyss. Brother, don't blame me. For the sake of survival, I can only sacrifice you. The young man gently pushed Zichen. Zichen's body slowly retreated. Before he fell into the cliff, he called out the young man's name. Zhao Can. The young man's smile was brilliant, like a flower, but also like a delicate flower of death. Zichen fell into the snow and fainted. Not long after, he woke up. He glanced at his already healed wound. I'm Zichen. I'm the undying Zichen. He stood up, patted the snow off his body, and walked out of the valley. He returned to his sect and began to work hard on his cultivation. During this time, he felt as if he had forgotten something. Then, on his way out, he found a stalk of snow ginseng. The snow ginseng was guarded by wild beasts. He couldn't fight them alone, so he called his good brother over. The two of them went in search of opportunities, looking forward to entering the inner sect together. The two of them stood on top of a mountain. When they saw the undamaged snow ginseng in the distance, they embraced. In the end, it became an embrace of death. Zichen looked at the dagger in his chest, then slowly retreated. Before he fell into the cliff, he called out Zhao Can's name. Not long after he fell into the cliff, Zichen woke up again. I'm Zichen. I'm the undying, he muttered. Even though he himself didn't know what was going on, he still didn't know. After returning to the sect, he began to work hard on his cultivation. Unfortunately, his talent wasn't high, and his progress was slow. He could only rely on external objects. And so, he found a stalk of snow ginseng. Next to it was a wild beast. He decided to ask his good brother for help, and the two of them entered the inner sect together. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In this great hall, everything fell silent. Zichen's eyes were lifeless. He stood there motionless. Because MCMAU had to control the eye with the demon god's power above his head, he had to pay a heavy price. Both of them didn't move. Zichen couldn't move, and MCMAU couldn't do anything. After activating this move, the price to pay was beyond imagination. Fortunately, the effect was not bad. Every time the eye above his head flashed, it would take away Zichen's life force. At this moment, Zichen was obviously in some kind of illusory state, unable to extricate himself. If there were no other accidents, Zichen's life force would be obliterated and disappear just like that. This was the power and horror of the demon god's eye. It could silently and painlessly cause a person to die. Since his body couldn't move, MCMAU couldn't quickly move forward to give Zichen the final fatal blow. However, he was still in a good mood. This was because looking at the current situation, Zichen was only a hair's breadth away from death. He would die just like that. Zichen's life force was slipping away, but he couldn't feel it. He could only keep repeating that strange scene. His consciousness was trapped in it, and he couldn't wake up for a long time. This was the biggest crisis Zichen had encountered since he came here. If no accident happened, Zichen would really die here. However, That accident happened. After countless revivals, Zichen's consciousness was still not clear. When his soul sensed the danger, it automatically put up a defense. His soul power also began to circulate wildly, like a violent vortex erupting from his consciousness. The life force that was slipping away was rapidly being devoured. At the same time, the power that belonged to the surroundings was also being devoured by Zichen's soul power. This included the remaining demon god's power in this great hall. As a wisp of the demon god's power entered his body, this power was not directly refined by Zichen. Instead, it entered Zichen's eyes. Chapter 42-24. A red light flashed in Zichen's eyes. His consciousness was separated from the circular environment. Looking at the eye that was still floating in front of him and recalling the previous scene, Zichen felt a lingering fear. He had almost died in this place. However, it was also a coincidence that allowed him to understand the true meaning of the demon eye. The reason why he could wake up now was also because of the demon eye. As expected, it was not an easy task to comprehend the demon eye. The prerequisite for success was the help and guidance of a demon god's power. In other words, it was to open the door. Only when this power opened the door could one walk in. After successfully comprehending the demon eye on top of MCMAU's head was no longer a threat to Zichen. This was like an ownerless house. MCMAU was the first to arrive and was still a guest in the house. Since the owner was not around, they could use the things here at will. The eye that was activated earlier was considered a borrowing. On the other hand, Zichen had comprehended the demon god's eye midway. That was a cultivation method that belonged to the demon god. It was equivalent to him becoming the owner of this house. Therefore, if MCMAU wanted to casually use his house's belongings, he would need the owner's permission. Zichen blinked his eyes and said, "Disperse." The demon eye on top of MCMAU's head dispersed out of thin air. The demon god's power that belonged to it flew toward Zichen and entered his eyes. MCMAU's body, which was in a combined state, was divided into two again. The demon god beast looked at Zichen's eyes, its eyes full of fear. Although MCMAU did not sense anything strange, he sensed a strong sense of danger from Zichen. How is this possible? He was shocked and looked at Zichen in disbelief. Zichen did not pay attention to MCMAU. Instead, he looked around. Finally, his gaze fell on the sky. With the demon god's eye, Zichen already knew what was used in this hall. There was the power left behind by the demon god. The inheritance of this power was the demon god's eye. What a coincidence. Zichen let out a sigh. If it wasn't the demon god's eye but some other power, then he would really be in danger this time. Zichen's gaze rested on Mo Wuju again. He said, "Don't feel like you've lost unjustly. In fact, you haven't lost unjustly at all. You may be able to beat others, but you definitely can't beat me, Zichen." Zichen smiled and a ray of light appeared beside Zichen. It was Spectre, who had been hiding. Ghost stood on Zichen's shoulder and stared at the fiend celestial beast. The fiend celestial beast, which was already terrified, instinctively let out a low roar. It was not a roar of intimidation, but of fear. That was an instinctive fear, as if a superior had descended, innately suppressing his aura. Mo Wuju's impact was much stronger than the fiend celestial beast's because the one standing in front was clearly the legendary fiend celestial beast. That was a real fiend celestial beast, an invincible battle pet belonging to the fiend celestial. Who was Zichen? An 8-star with such combat strength and skills. Was he the reincarnation of the fiend celestial? Zichen snapped his fingers lightly and Spectre opened its mouth and inhaled. The fiend celestial beast standing beside the demonic martial celestial beast fell limply to the ground. Its pure soul power was devoured by the spirit. Seeing this, Zichen was even more certain that his Spectre was also a fiend celestial beast. Moreover, it was a fiend celestial beast of a higher grade. Fiend celestial beast, this is a fiend celestial beast. Mo Wuju's subsequent exclamation also confirmed this point. At the same time, he also realized that his loss was not unjustly. It was just that his luck was too bad to have met Zichen. Zichen flew toward the sky. There was the inheritance left behind by the Fiend Celestial. Moreover, from the looks of it, he could still obtain it. Spectre inhaled again. This time, a strange soul energy landed on Mo Wuju's body. Mo Wuju, who was already injured, suffered a backlash from forcibly borrowing the demon god's power. He only resisted for a moment before collapsing. Just as his life faded away, the long robe on his body also became dull. The embroidery of the Fiend Celestial beast on it also disappeared. Zichen's body was shrouded in black light. This black light was the inheritance that Mo Wuju had previously obtained. However, Zichen had now comprehended the demon god's eye by chance, so this power would directly strengthen Zichen's demon god's eye. All the power gathered in Zichen's eyes and became the power of the demon god's eye. This was the pure demon god's power. Its grade was far superior to the royal power that Mo Wuju had previously used. This was the real opportunity. After the spectre devoured Mo Wuju and the Fiend Celestial beast, it stayed at the side to protect Zichen. After a while, all the power was devoured by Zichen. Although there was no change in his realm, Zichen had gained another remarkable ability. That was the demon god's eye. After using this technique, he was like a real devil. After obtaining the power of the inheritance, just as Zichen was about to leave, he unexpectedly discovered that there seemed to be something else in the sky. However, as he looked carefully, he did not really see it. Even when he used his soul energy to sense it carefully, he did not discover anything. This made him very surprised. Could it all be an illusion? At this moment, Zichen thought of a possibility and directly used the demon god's eye that he had just mastered. As he closed and opened his eyes, light appeared from the bottom of his eyes. Zichen's vision became different. The spectre in the distance looked in this direction with vigilance. At this moment, Zichen's aura underwent an obvious change. Although there was no scene of rolling demonic qi, his temperament had become extremely cold. Zichen saw a pair of eyes left in the sky. It seemed to be hidden in a hidden corner where time and space overlapped. Unless he used the demon god's eye, it would be impossible to see it. If he could not see it, he naturally could not get it. Zichen was very glad that he had discovered the abnormality in advance. Just as he saw that pair of eyes, the pair of eyes that seemed to have been thrown in the corner for countless years lit up. Their eyes met. Countless rays of light bloomed. Vaguely, there seemed to be a summoning force, as if someone was waving at the pair of eyes that lit up. The pair of eyes that had been sealed for many years left the corner, traveled through time and space, and arrived in front of Zichen. In the next moment, it sensed the aura of the same origin, so it immediately flew towards Zichen and entered his eyes. It was as if there were two red fireballs that entered Zichen's eyes. Zichen subconsciously closed his eyes, and two streaks of blood flowed down from the corners of his eyes. Chapter 42:25. The cold voice Zichen heard came from the devil. But it was just a voice left behind many years ago, so he couldn't tell Zichen's real identity. Killing the spirit was his first task, which showed how much the devil hated the spirit. Even under such circumstances, he didn't forget to remind the people who came after him. Zichen listened quietly and didn't make any response. At this moment, the eyes were being assimilated by Zichen. This was the devil's eye left behind by the devil. Of course, Zichen wasn't sure if this was the same pair of eyes the devil used to fight. Or it could be said that this was a special existence similar to a soul weapon. Tears of blood flowed from the corners of the eyes, and there was a powerful force constantly attacking Zichen's mind, with a strong vibration of the soul. The aura around him became unstable. This situation lasted for a full quarter of an hour before it gradually calmed down. Zichen took a deep breath and wiped away the traces of blood and tears on his face. This time, he had gained a lot. Before leaving, Zichen walked around the hall again to see if he could find anything else. He even used the devil's eye again, but he found nothing. Walking out of the hall, a passage appeared in front of him. Zichen walked in. Zichen appeared in the crowd. There were many people here, and they all stopped. Occasionally, there were flashes of brilliance around, and demons appeared one after another. Zichen spread out his soul power and saw the abnormality in front of him. There were countless demons, but they all stood there motionless like zombies. Everyone was outside, and so far, no one had come forward. The people around were whispering. Some people were using rumors to discuss something. Zichen noticed Liu Zhen and asked, "What's the matter?" Liu Zhen had seen Zichen a long time ago, but she remembered Zichen's words, so she didn't dare to contact him. "It is said that the devil's inheritance land is right in front of us, but it has been blocked by these creatures. Unlike before, there is no power to be gained from killing them this time. Plus, they are surprisingly strong. Everyone is waiting, and no one has gone yet." "What about half-step holy venerables?" Zichen asked. "Not yet." At this moment, Liu Zhen had a question in his heart. "What about MCMAU?" The other party was quite famous and had a fiend celestial beast by his side. However, why did he disappear now? He wanted to ask, but he didn't dare. Liu Zhen recalled something and said, "There is a no-fly zone here, we can't fly over from above. If we want to go over, we can only kill our way out. Our Devil Snake Guard has already started to form an alliance. Are you coming?" Zichen did not agree immediately. He decided to wait and see. At this moment, a group of black-robed men moved. There were 12 of them, and they walked forward. A beam of light descended from the sky and landed in front of the 12 people. An uproar erupted in the surroundings, because a half-step holy venerable appeared. This half-step holy venerate who appeared punched forward. A resplendent fist light flew forward. Everywhere the fist light passed, demon race creatures died. In the blink of an eye, a straight and empty path appeared. The leading half-step holy venerable led the 12 black-robed men forward. They were the first to advance. The surroundings were in an uproar. Zichen's expression changed. Earlier, he clearly felt the demonic god's energy. Like Xiao Chen, that half-step holy venerable had obtained a portion of the demonic god's inheritance. Based on the other party's attack, he should have obtained the demonic god's right arm. Only those who obtained the demonic god's inheritance could sense such an aura. Hence, Zichen decided to wait. At the same time, he wanted to see who obtained the demonic god's energy. After a while, another half-step holy venerable appeared. This time, he used the energy of his left arm. Unsurprisingly, 2 more people obtained the energy of the demonic god's leg. One of them was charging forward like a machine that opened up a path. All the demons that came into contact with him would be sent flying by the powerful shockwave. That should be the energy of the demonic god's physical body. Those powerful half-step holy venerables all entered. The others were also eager to give it a try, and began to form groups to advance. Zichen waited for a while longer. Then, Liu Zhen sent out a second invitation. The demonic snake guards prepared to charge in. Zichen rejected the invitation. He believed that no one else would come at this time, so he decided to enter alone. Zichen walked forward alone. Moreover, he didn't conceal his cultivation level and aura at all. Guessing his intentions, many people looked at him strangely. In this place, even a half-step holy venerate would have to lead a team forward. Even when countless 9-star holy spirits formed teams, they would still be on tenterhooks. What more a mere 8-star holy venerable? Was he sending himself to his death? When Zichen moved, the others did not move. They all looked at Zichen, or rather, they were waiting for him to die before the others left. Liu Zhen also noticed this scene. However, she did not say anything. It was not that she believed that Zichen could pass, but that if she sent a voice projection, others might hear her and discover her relationship with him. Before the crowd's gazes, Zichen arrived at the edge. He was only 30 meters away from the demon race creatures in front. After those half-step holy spirits killed the demon race creatures and walked over, new demon race creatures would appear in that empty space. Now, it looked like there were still many of them. Zichen closed his eyes, and his breathing calmed. His soul energy surged in his sea of consciousness and gathered in his eyes. Zichen opened his eyes and looked ahead. No energy appeared, but the demon race creatures standing there disappeared one after another. In the blink of an eye, a huge vacuum appeared. Cries of alarm rang out in the surroundings. The expressions of all the people waiting to see Zichen die changed. What kind of magic was this to kill so many with just a glance? Chen walked into the vacuum. The demon race creatures that appeared here seemed to be testing everyone's strength. After he walked through the vacuum, the demon race creatures that disappeared earlier appeared again. They did not attack Chen. Instead, they stayed where they were, quietly waiting for the second wave of enemies to arrive. Liu Zhen looked at Chen's disappearing figure with a touch of expectation in her eyes. Perhaps this plan could really succeed. After smoothly passing through the test, Chen saw a messy battlefield. The ground had collapsed, and there were huge cracks and ravines everywhere. In his field of vision, not even a blade of grass grew. This was a new battlefield. Or rather, it was the previous battlefield, but it was moved here by someone with great magic power. In the center of the messy battlefield, there was a mountain peak. This mountain peak towered into the clouds, and it had a heavy aura. Apart from the mountain peak, everything else was in ruins. Those who came here before all went to the mountain peak. The sky restriction was still in place, so they had to climb to the top of the mountain. Chapter 42-26. The stone steps were made of special limestone. Each piece was very flat and of the same size. They were exquisitely crafted. As Chen walked up the stone steps, he did not encounter any danger or test. This was very different from what he expected. However, when he thought about it, it made sense. Walking all the way here was already the biggest test. If not for the demonic god eye, it would have been very difficult for Chen to make it through the countless demonic race creatures. As Chen walked up the stone steps and looked down at the battlefield below, he seemed to see the great battle from back then. Someone split the ground with a saber strike, someone split the sky with a sword strike, someone shattered mountains, and someone exterminated life. This should be the ultimate battlefield, and the demon god might have fallen here. The group smoothly reached the summit. Then, everyone stopped. There was a magnificent palace in front of them with the words demonic god written on it. Clearly, this was the demonic god palace. Everyone stopped in their tracks, not because of the majestic palace, but because of the skeleton in front of them. As the corpse stood there, it seemed to form a small world of its own. It gave off an intense sense of danger. Not far away, 3 people lay on the ground. They should have tried to force their way in earlier but got killed by the corpse. Chen looked at the corpse in front. The summoning came from the other party. Furthermore, Chen felt a familiar aura from the corpse. If Chen guessed right, this corpse should be the head of all the holy venerates of the spirit race, the lord that these people referred to. At this moment, there were many half-step holy venerates here. This made Chen hesitate. He did not know whether he should go forward or not. After all, Xiao Chen was only an 8-star martial emperor. He did not want to attract too much attention. Just as Chen hesitated, he saw a person walk forward. Chen remembered this person. This was the person with the demonic god left arm. When Xiao Chen was only 30 meters away from the corpse, he suddenly punched. The demonic god's energy was activated. A dazzling fist light flew straight at the corpse in front of him. The other party's earlier attack opened up a vacuum among the demonic race creatures. Kai. The corpse started to light up. A sharp sword chi shot out and instantly extinguished the fist light. At the same time, the sword chi did not scatter and shot towards that half-step holy venerate. The man's face fell, and he immediately retreated. Several defensive barriers appeared in front of him. However, it was useless. When these defenses met with the sword chi, they were instantly shattered. Among them, there was even a high-quality defensive soul weapon. The sword chi continued to press forward. The half-step holy venerate did not even have time to feel heartache. He could only retreat immediately. 2 men in black flew over and used their bodies to block the sword chi. With 2 soft sounds, the 2 men's bodies were penetrated and they fell into a pool of blood. After exhausting the 9-star holy spirits and sacrificing their lives, the sword chi finally weakened. When it approached the half-step holy venerate, the half-step holy venerate shattered it with a palm strike. The scene shocked the crowd. Chen stood there without moving. At that moment, there was only shock in his eyes. That was because the sword aura from before possessed the attribute of lightning. The reason why he found it familiar was because that person was a wholly exalted from the Lightning Clan, someone from the same clan as him. He did not expect that the one who led the group of Saint Venerables into the demon realm back then was actually the Thunder Clan's Saint Venerables. Furthermore, even after countless years, the remnant energy in this skeleton was still very strong. This showed how strong it was back then. If one wanted to enter the demonic Tao Palace, one had to get past this skeleton. That earlier sword strike even forced back a half-step Holy Venerate. Naturally, the others did not dare to go forward. However, this was only temporary. The temptation of the demonic god's inheritance was too great. The energy in this skeleton would eventually run out. If it really came to that, it would be almost impossible for Zi Chen to bring anything back. The half-step Holy Venerates who obtained the inheritance already started communicating with each other, intending to work together. Zi Chen no longer hesitated, directly walking forward. The moment he moved, he naturally became the center of attention. When the crowd sensed Xiao Chen's cultivation, they were stunned. Why is an 8-star Holy Venerate going forward? Before he even got close to the skeleton, Zi Chen began to form a seal. His body was surrounded by demonic power. Is he seeking death? A half-step Holy Venerate frowned. If he activated the demonic energy now, it would only be seen as a provocation, completely enraging that skeleton. It would be fine if the skeleton died. However, it might even affect their progress. Just as the half-step Holy Venerate was about to stop the other party, the light of Zi Chen's energy started to change. Sometimes, it was demonic energy, and sometimes, it changed attributes. Oh! That half-step Holy Venerate felt somewhat surprised. It looks like this is some kind of magical technique that can change the attribute of energy. He intends to use this move to trick the skeleton, another half-step Holy Venerate said. This was a minor magical technique that no one learned. The spiritual race, who possessed spiritual energy, had too low of a status in this world. However, this minor magical technique might be useful in the current situation. At this moment, Zi Chen's energy kept changing. Furthermore, the frequency of it kept increasing, occasionally switching between two types of energy. Xiao Chen was getting closer to the skeleton. To the crowd, this was because Zi Chen had not grasped this magical technique that changed the nature of energy. Once he got close to the skeleton and switched back to the original demonic energy, only death awaited him. All the demons held their breaths, nervously waiting for the next development of the situation. They had personally witnessed how powerful the skeleton was. If this 8-star Holy Spirit could really destroy it, they would be very happy to see it. Under everyone's nervous gazes, Zi Chen walked in front of the skeleton. The energy around his body flashed, changing from spiritual energy to demonic energy. Some people began to cry out in alarm. Perhaps they were about to die. But at this moment, the energy around Zi Chen's body changed again, from demonic energy to spiritual energy. At this moment, Zi Chen, who was forming hand seals, immediately pressed his hand against the skeleton. Wang! In an instant, the skeleton began to tremble. Countless rays of light bloomed, dazzling and dazzling. The surrounding demons all closed their eyes. That spiritual energy light made them feel very uncomfortable. Zi Chen was not affected. He could see ahead. A person appeared in front of him. It was a middle-aged man. He stood in front of Zi Chen and stared at Zi Chen in a daze. In truth, he had been looking at Zi Chen the entire time. It was just that Zi Chen had not noticed. Zi Chen. The middle-aged man called out in a low voice. You know me? Zi Chen asked, puzzled. It really is you. It really is you. The middle-aged man sighed and said, I knew you weren't dead. You are Zi Chen. You can't die. Zi Chen explained, Senior, my name is indeed Zi Chen. However, I am not the Zi Chen you know. This time, I came because I felt Senior's call. Chapter 42:27. Zi Chen looked at the middle-aged man, not knowing what to say. The middle-aged man looked at Zi Chen and sighed, then smiled. Although I don't know what happened back then, I'm still very happy to see you here again. It seems that no matter what era you are in, no matter what you become, Your unwillingness to be left out has never changed. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the demon realm. How did a spirit like you end up here? And how did you get along so well with the demon race?" Although he was no longer an important person, he could still see Zi Chen's true identity. Zi Chen originally had questions to ask him, but he didn't expect him to ask first. Zi Chen truthfully told him what had happened and what he had seen along the way. The middle-aged man said, "The spirit race's current situation has a lot to do with us. Back then, when we killed our way into this place, everything went smoothly, and the demon race was forced to flee. Who would have thought that in the final battle, a powerful demon race expert would suddenly appear, leading a large group of Saint Sovereigns to attack us unprepared? That demon race expert called himself the Demon God. In his words, he had already set up a big game of chess, and was just waiting for us chess pieces to come in." As the middle-aged man spoke, the light on his body began to fade. He shook his head and smiled. "It seems that I can't reveal too much, or else I'll suffer a backlash from the laws. In my current state, I can't resist the backlash from the laws. You were able to make it all the way here, which is not bad. You even obtained the demon god's eye. I'm sure no one in the demon race would dare to believe this, not even that arrogant guy from back then." The middle-aged man smiled. "I'm actually looking forward to what you'll get next. If you can really take away that thing that guy left behind, then it'll be fun. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see it, so I can only place my hopes on you. Time is limited, so I used the last of my spirit energy to leave behind a technique. When you see it, don't look down on it. Once you learn it, it won't be any weaker than your lightning manipulation art." After he finished speaking, the middle-aged man pointed his finger at Zi Chen's glabella. Countless holy light diagrams bloomed, turning into a light spot between Zi Chen's eyebrows and entering Zi Chen's consciousness. See. Sword of Lightning. This was the technique left behind by the senior. Just these 3 words sounded a little shabby, and it was much worse than the lightning controlling technique. But since the senior had specially instructed, Zi Chen took it to heart and decided to cultivate it when he had time. By the time he reacted and was about to express his gratitude, the senior's body had already dissipated. He had disappeared. He had disappeared from the world forever. There was no possibility of him coming back to life. Before he disappeared, he had left behind a spell, but not a name. The group of demons looked at Zi Chen in shock. Just a moment ago, they were very worried about Zi Chen. Fortunately, his spell was somewhat special, and he was able to change his power in time, so he didn't die on the spot. The countless rays of light that were gathering at the center of his brows shocked many people. Could this be the inheritance left behind by the Spirit Clan saint? At this moment, the demonic light around his body started to circulate again, and a strong repulsive force appeared. Zi Chen's body flew backward and he coughed up blood when he landed. At the front, the skeleton that could block a half-step holy venerate turned into dust and disappeared. The crowd was in an uproar again. Many demon experts smiled. As for the 8-star Zi Chen, no one paid any attention to him. After all, Zi Chen's cultivation level was too low. If he hadn't coincidentally grasped such a useless spell, he wouldn't have been qualified to receive the attention of so many experts. This was also what Zi Chen wanted to achieve. He wanted everyone to think that he was just lucky, and that the blood he coughed up midway was not in vain. Without the skeleton blocking the way, everyone walked toward the demon god palace in front of them. Zi Chen was still at the back. He didn't fight with the others. When the senior disappeared, he revealed that there was something left behind by the demon god, but he didn't say what it was exactly. No one paid any attention to Zi Chen because it was very obvious that he had been forcefully pushed back in the end. He was destined to not be able to obtain the inheritance of the Spirit Clan saint. Even if he could obtain it, it would be useless to the demons. Furthermore, no one treated him as a threat, because he was only an 8-star expert. After entering the demon god palace, no danger appeared. Everyone seemed to be taking a stroll, or perhaps they were here to look around. They walked into the demon god palace. Zi Chen was the last to enter. After he walked in, the door behind him closed on its own. Zi Chen's expression changed slightly. He looked around vigilantly, but nothing abnormal appeared. Furthermore, Chen discovered that the others were the same as him. They were at a loss of what to do. In the outside world, the groups that were still trying to advance were pushed back by a powerful force after the lightning divine palace closed. After they returned to their original positions, the demon creatures that were originally in charge of testing them all disappeared. At the same time, a light screen appeared in the sky, as if it had divided the world into two, blocking everyone on one side. The resources of the demon god no longer had anything to do with the people present. Many people were disappointed and sighed because this was probably the only chance they would have in their lives. Liu Zhen did not care. His harvest this time was not small. After returning, even if he could not become a half-step Saint Venerable, his strength would at least improve. He might even be able to become a royal. Right now, the only thing he was looking forward to was Chen. As long as Chen could destroy their plan, it would be a great merit. Asterisk 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 asterisk. When the door of the palace closed and everyone was on high alert, a huge picture scroll appeared above their heads. The picture scroll showed a messy battlefield. On this battlefield, there were people fighting. Or rather, it was the Spirit Clan and the Demon Clan fighting. The Spirit Clan were all invaders. Their fighting strength was extremely powerful. Looking at the battlefield, everyone was probably a Saint Venerable. With so many Saint Venerables gathered together, the picture was extremely shocking. However, the battle shown in the picture was not very optimistic. Demon experts were killed one after another. The battle was practically one-sided. How despicable. Our Demon Clan is fighting openly. However, those Spirit Clan members are actually helping and colluding with each other, a Demon Clan member said disdainfully. A demon who couldn't stand the sight of the battle said with dissatisfaction. A few people at the side nodded in agreement, cursing the shamelessness of the Spirit Clan. Chen could clearly see that the Spirit Clan member that the Demon Clan member spoke of killed 2 Demon Clan Holy Venerables by himself. After that Spirit Clan member was injured, a Spirit Clan member came to treat him. As far as Chen knew, the combat prowess of the Demon Clan was higher than that of the Spirit Clan. This was not just the case in the demonic world but also in the Holy Spirit realm. However, based on the current picture, it would not be difficult for these Spirit Clan members to kill 2 Demon Clan members of the same cultivation level each. The scene continued. The Devil race suffered heavy casualties. This made many people unable to bear it. After all, the Spirit race had always been the lowest level existence in their eyes. However, in this scene, the lowest level Spirit race was actually beating their Saint Venerables to the point that they didn't have any temper. Saint Venerables were killed one after another. Furthermore, this picture seemed to be real. Occasionally, one could hear the arrogant laughter of the Spirit Clan members, as well as their curses. Little Demon Clan members, die. Do you think that you will not die if you hide in your nest? You dare to invade our Spirit Clan with your puny cultivation? Die. Weak little Demon Clan member, your bare body is so handsome that it is ugly. When the Demon Clan members heard these voices, they started cursing. Some people even shouted, "If you have the ability to show up now, I will definitely make you die without a complete corpse." The clamoring crowd seemed to have forgotten that they had been blocked by that skeleton that had died countless years ago. If they could not even defeat a skeleton, how could they be a match for these living existences? Many angry Demon Clan members started cursing the owner of this picture. Did he bring out this picture to let them know how their ancestors had been humiliated in front of the Spirit Clan and how weak they were? Suddenly, a cold voice rang out. "Spirit Clan, since you have voluntarily walked into my trap, then don't leave." The moment this voice appeared, the temperature in the hall seemed to drop by a lot. The Demon Clan members who had been cursing earlier all shut their mouths and kept quiet out of fear. It was clearly the voice of the picture, but it affected all the holy spirits. The expressions of those who had received the inheritance of the demon god changed, including Chen. Because that was the voice of the demon god. He had already heard it once before. There was no trace of the demon god in the picture, but many Demon Clan Holy Venerables appeared. After they appeared, they charged towards the Spirit Clan members. Their combat strength might not be strong, but they had the advantage in numbers. They began to work together, ganging up on one spirit clan member. At this moment, the spirit clan members were suppressed by the many demon clan members. No demon clan member said that these people did not have the spirit to fight one-on-one. Unsurprisingly, the spirit clan members died one after another. At this moment, the demon god's voice rang out again. Not only will I kill all of you here, but I will also use the formation here to refine your corpses. They will become nourishment for my demon clan descendants. *CK your mother's ass. Even if I disappear from this world, I will not let you demon clan members get away with it. A huge spirit clan beast spoke in a human voice. He laughed loudly. I've killed too many of your holy venerables. My death is worth it. Faced with the siege, this spirit clan beast was no match for them. He died on the spot. But his corpse still towered between the heavens and the earth, not collapsing. Even in death, he still stood tall. Whoosh! A bolt of lightning sword chi shot into the sky, as if it wanted to split the picture in two. Below the picture, a high-spirited middle-aged man stood up, sword in hand. He was the senior Zi Chen had met before. He was also the leader of the spirit clan this time. He stood in the sky and said indifferently, use whatever means you have. If you want us holy venerables to help you demon clan, I, Lei Yutian, will be the first to disagree. A bolt of lightning sword chi shot into the sky, and the picture began to shake. Chapter 42-28. When the lightning sword fell, the scroll began to shake violently. The image was no longer clear. Zi Chen remembered the name, Lei Yutian. The demon god's voice sounded again. He said coldly, in my demon god scroll, your power will be suppressed. It will be impossible for you to break out of the scroll and escape. Lei Yutian's second sword fell. This time, it was even stronger. A fine crack appeared in the sky, but it quickly recovered. It's useless. In this scroll, I am invincible. The array has been activated. All of you will die. Your corpses will be refined by the array and become resources for the future growth of our demon race. The demon race's Saint Venerables kept attacking. During this time, the spirit race's Saint Venerables died because they were surrounded by enemies several times their number. The other demons stopped clamoring. Seeing the spirit race's Saint Venerables die, they were in a good mood. However, when the spirit race's Saint Venerables died, the demon race's Saint Venerables would die even more. The difference in power between the two sides was obvious, but there were too many demon race's Saint Venerables. Lei Yutian was still calmly attacking. After a few strikes, a huge crack appeared in the sky. The scroll had been cut open by Lei Yutian. A clear crack appeared in the sky. Lei Yutian said, everyone, follow me back to the spirit world. With a wave of his hand, a glowing object flew forward. It was a seed the size of a walnut. It fell into the crack he had just cut open. This seed was extraordinary. It could devour the power of the void. It quickly sprouted and grew into a small tree. A flower bud grew at the top of the tree. The flower bud bloomed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, it turned into a flower. The stamen filled the entire crack tightly, preventing the painting from healing. In the stamen, a hexagram teleportation array appeared. You actually brought a transrealm spirit core here? What a big deal. The demon god sneered. But you still can't leave. This is my territory. You have restrained the scroll, but I still have the laws of this world. The scroll could no longer heal, so the demon god began to mobilize the power of the laws. I will seal this place completely. None of you will be able to leave. The demonic god finally appeared in the picture scroll. He was tall and huge. If not for the billowing demonic chi around him, he would have looked no different from the spirit race. He carried the power of heaven and earth and descended into the world of the scroll painting. He sneered with a look of victory on his face. Lei Yutian shifted his gaze and looked at the demon god. A meaningful smile appeared on his face. In the next moment, everyone saw a dazzling lightning appear in the painting. The lightning transformed into a sword of lightning, emitting boundless light. It approached from afar and arrived in front of the demonic god. He pierced through it. Lei Yutian stood behind the demon god, holding a light sword in his hand. The blade of the sword was stained with blood. The power of heaven and earth that the demon god had brought with him dissipated. On his chest, there was a sword mark that had completely penetrated his body. The blood of the demon god gushed out from the sword mark. There was an uproar all around. No one thought that the demon god that had just appeared would actually suffer such heavy injuries. Just how strong was the Thunder Clan's Saint Venerable with the sword? Even a demon god could be injured. What a pity. What a pity. Lei Yutian looked at the light sword in his hand with regret in his eyes. I purposely held back my strength just for this sword. I can't believe I didn't manage to kill you. What a pity, but I also feel wronged. Crack. The light sword in his hand broke in half. The spiritual energy in it dissipated. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His face turned pale. He slowly turned around and looked at the demon god in front of him. The demon god also looked at Lei Yutian with disbelief in his eyes. So your target was me. Lei Yutian said, only by killing you can the spirit race truly usher in peace. You must die. The demon god said, but I'm still alive, and you're about to die. Lei Yutian snorted. So what? I've already injured your foundation. Even if you're still alive, how long can you live? Lei Yutian looked up at the sky. Heaven's will. Everything is heaven's will. Then his eyes sharpened. But the fate of the spirit race is in our hands. It's not up to heaven's will to decide. You, on the other hand, were just lucky. Unfortunately, I won't be able to bring back this important information. The demon god suddenly coughed up blood. His aura immediately withered. He'd thought that this scheme would make the demon race rich, but he'd never imagined that these people's target would be him. Lei Yutian looked up at the sky. His weapon was broken, and so was his life. That sword attack had gathered all his strength. He'd crossed realms for this sword attack. His eyes were filled with nostalgia and unwillingness. Finally, he sighed. They really do exist. They're part of the spirit race's calamity. Back then, your proof was correct. But where did you go? I don't believe you've died. The demon god ignored Lei Yutian. Although he was still alive, he wasn't in a good state. He had to hurry. He used his remaining strength to heal the painting. The spirit core also changed from its blooming state to its sealed state. Like a discordant light, it merged with the painting. The battle below was nearing its end. All the spirit race's Saint Venerables had died. The demon race had won, but it was a Pyrrhic victory. The formation has been activated, and no one can leave here alive. You have two choices. One is to decompose yourselves into the world's pure demonic energy, and one day, when it is activated, you can help the younger generation of the demon race accumulate resources. The second is to wait for the passage of time to erode your corpses and destroy everything you are. These were the choices the demon god had given them. Almost without hesitation, the dead demon race's Saint Venerables chose the former. Their corpses immediately disappeared, turning into pure demonic energy that filled the world. The spirit race's Saint Venerables stood tall. Even if they disappeared forever, they wouldn't leave anything behind for the demon race in the future. Seeing this, Zichen understood why he'd only seen the spirit race's Saint Venerables, but not the demon race's Saint Venerables. The demon race's power that had been given away for free was the power of the Saint Venerables after they died. Because they'd miscalculated, the formation had been activated. No one could leave alive, including the demon race's Saint Venerables who hadn't died yet. The killing formation had been activated. Their lives would only be destroyed. Rather than dying slowly, it was better to disappear. So they chose to decompose themselves. At this point, all the Saint Venerables who'd come, except for the demon god and Lei Yutian, had died. But it was only a matter of time before the two of them died. The demon god had used the last of his strength to arrange everything. He was waiting for the formation to disappear after a few years. The things he'd left behind would bring new hope to the demon race. All the demon race's Saint Venerables watched this scene quietly. Their emotions were indescribably complicated. The demon god stood outside the demon god palace. Lei Yutian also descended from the sky. The demon god looked at Lei Yutian, who'd ruined his plan. He asked calmly, They've all made their choice. What will you do? Chapter 42:29. The demonic god thought he had tricked the Saint Venerables of the spirit race and could kill them all. But he didn't expect that the real purpose of these invaders was to kill him. So, he had delivered himself to his doorstep. Now, the foundation of the great path had been destroyed. If it wasn't for that mysterious power, he would have died. And he was trapped here and couldn't leave. Originally, he had set up a killing formation for the spirit race. Now, even he was involved. But at this point, the demonic god was very open-minded and didn't have much resentment. Hearing Lei Yutian's words, he said, "Guard the door?" Lei Yutian nodded and said, "Yes. The obstacles you designed are almost easy. They are just free opportunities. What's the point? You can't live anyway. Don't you want your legacy to be taken by someone who is worthy?" Lei Yutian pointed at his feet. "So I'm here to guard the door for you. I will eliminate all those who are not worthy." Just as Lei Yutian finished his sentence, many of the demons subconsciously turned to look at Zichen. He was the one who had destroyed the skeleton. Could it be that he was the strongest cultivator? Zichen pretended to be absorbed in looking at the sky and didn't notice those strange looks. The demonic god knew what Lei Yutian was thinking and said, "Up to you." Lei Yutian said, "Then please." The demonic god looked around. He was about to leave and was a bit reluctant. He seemed to want to say something before leaving. He said, "Why do you have to do this? The fate of the spirit race has been decided. Why do you have to make a pointless struggle?" Lei Yutian said, "I said that we are the masters of our own fate. It's not up to others to tell us what to do. Besides, we have achieved something, haven't we? After this battle, what will the demonic race have left? You will naturally hide and develop, and the spiritual realm will welcome peace. When the demonic race grows and wants to invade the spiritual realm again, you will find that the spirit race has been peaceful for countless years and has produced many strong cultivators." The demon god snorted and said, "You're dreaming. Maybe after countless years, your spirit race will be too weak to even stand up to the wind, far from being a match for my demon race." Lei Yutian said, "Let's wait and see." The demonic god sighed and said, "You are still too naive. The will of heaven is hard to fathom, do you understand? Let the latecomer give the answer." As soon as he finished speaking, the demon god's body disintegrated and spread out in all directions. Seeing this, Zichen's pupils shrank. Because the pair of eyes he obtained were actually the eyes of a real demon god. It was a real eye, not a refined spiritual treasure. At the same time, the expressions of the others also changed. When Lei Yutian saw this, he couldn't help but sneer. The Grand Tao is gone, so what's the point of leaving these things behind? How much power do you think they will retain after so many years? How could you possibly understand my methods? The demon god disappeared. At this point, all the rumors had been revealed. The demonic god was indeed dead, and he had died in this world. Apart from feeling sorrowful, everyone also felt quite excited because that rumor had come true. As long as they obtained this place's legacy, they would be able to become a new demon god. Just as the demon god disappeared, the earth began to shake, and a mountain rose from the ground. Lei Yutian glanced at the demonic shrine, then turned around, his back facing the shrine. "If this is your last resort, then I'll be your loyal guard. I'll protect this place well, and won't let anyone in until I'm completely dead." Lei Yutian stood there, his vitality gradually fading away. It was not until many years later that Zichen came here and saw what was left of his soul power. The scene was over, but what puzzled everyone was, where was the opportunity? One had to know that they were already standing in the demon god temple, but where was the opportunity left behind by the demon god? Zichen raised his head and glanced at the scroll. His expression changed slightly. At this moment, a person suddenly leaped into the air and headed straight for the painting. As soon as he approached, a ripple surged out from the painting, and a layer of protection appeared. The person immediately punched out, shattering the protection with one punch, and then entered the painting. When the others saw this, they all followed suit. The opportunity was inside the painting. Soon, everyone flew in, and only Zichen was left. Chen closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, his vision had changed. This hall was not real, but an illusory existence. Everything that everyone saw before was an illusion. Chen's original plan was to take away this demon god temple, because this was the demon god's hall, and it was obviously a supreme treasure. Unfortunately, there was nothing real here. Chen looked up at the painting. The painting was also fake, and it was just an entrance. It seems that the real inheritance and opportunity are at the entrance of the painting. Chen shook his head, and his vision returned to normal. His figure flashed, and he entered the painting. Asterisk 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 asterisk. As soon as Chen entered the world of the painting, he sensed powerful energy fluctuations. It was a battle between half-step sacred venerables. Not far from the two, there was a black stone platform with a demonic weapon stabbed into it. Even though it was not far from that place, Chen could still sense the dense demon god aura. That was the demon god's weapon. No wonder the two half-step sacred venerables were fighting so fiercely. Chen deliberately took a detour. That demonic weapon was useless to him. Right now, he only wanted to find the spirit core that could allow him to leave. As long as he found the spirit core, he could leave, and his mission would be completed. As for the demon god's other opportunities and inheritance, Chen did not care too much about them. After all, he was a spiritual race member. After he returned, his disguise would disappear, and he would not be able to continue using the demon god's eye. As he moved forward, Chen discovered that a few more of the demon god's weapons had appeared. Furthermore, all of them were intact. There was no danger in the surroundings. If they did not fight among themselves, they could just take the weapons. This made Chen very suspicious. Was the demon god really so rich back then? Furthermore, was he really so good to his juniors, taking all the good things as he pleased? Subconsciously, Chen used the demon god's eye. In this region, the demon god's eye allowed Chen to see his surroundings even more clearly. Xiao Chen first looked at the demonic weapons that everyone was fighting over. Then, his expression changed slightly. The reason for that was because those demon god armaments were all fake and illusory. However, these illusory things were actually so real. Furthermore, even half-step sacred venerables could not sense them. This made Chen feel admiration for that fallen demon god. How strong was his soul energy? As Chen swept his gaze across the demonic weapons, he did not see anything that truly existed. Everyone was just fighting for air, that's all. Chapter 42:30. Boom. 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 Powerful energy surged. The half-step holy venerables all used their strongest techniques. They would not stop until one of them was dead. This was especially true for the powerful existences who had obtained the demonic god's inheritance. They had the power to destroy the world, as if they wanted to completely destroy this area. Fist lights soared into the sky. Leg shadows covered the world. They were all the demonic god's inheritances. Aside from the half-step holy venerables, the other 9-star holy spirits were also fighting. This time, there was no hypocritical modesty between them. They were only fighting to the death. Comparatively speaking, Chen was the safest because he was only an 8-star holy spirit. No one cared about him. Furthermore, he had no intention of fighting for the treasures. Hence, he was the most relaxed. A half-step holy venerate was the first to gain something. He used the demonic god's fist to force his opponent back. He quickly stepped forward and grabbed the large saber. He instantly exerted his strength and pulled out the saber. In an instant, the world lost its color. Demonic chi surged. The demonic god's might swept through the world. The others were envious. Chen was shocked. With the demonic god's eye, he could clearly see that the half-step holy venerate had nothing in his hand. However, that strong perception was so clear and obvious. This showed how powerful the demonic god was back then. Senior Lei Yutian was able to sever the demonic god's foundation with one strike. Clearly, he was also extremely extraordinary. Chen walked forward, deliberately avoiding the crowd as if he was on a scenic tour. He came to a mound. There was something there. It was already covered in dust and looked very unremarkable. Chen came to the mound and bent down to pick it up. He gently shook his hand, and the dust fell. In an instant, Chen's hand released a dazzling light. This was a picture scroll that had been closed. Chen did not hesitate to open it. At this moment, a hearty laugh rang out. Only a pair of eyes are qualified to obtain this painting. Young man, you are very good. This was the demonic god's voice. It rang out right in front of Chen. This made Chen's heart tighten. The demonic god looked at Chen. He was indeed not dead. Or rather, he still had his spiritual sense. The demon god said, "Junior, state your name." Chen glanced at the demon god and calmly said, "Mo Chen." The demon god nodded and asked, "Do you know who I am?" Chen immediately cupped his hands and said, "Mo Chen greets Lord Devil God." The demon god was very satisfied with Chen's respect. He sized up Chen with a strange light in his eyes. Chen suddenly felt like he had been seen through. Your soul force is very pure, which is extremely rare. However, your soul force seems to be a bit strange, and there is a trace of the spirit race's aura in it. The demon god's murmur was like a bolt from the blue in Chen's ears. Chen once again clasped his hands and said, reporting to the devil god, "I come from an ordinary family, and have never received any formal training since I was young. My talent was also not good, and I accidentally ate a fruit that glowed, which allowed me to reach my current level. The world was full of strange things." The demon god was only a little surprised, but he did not pursue the matter. "You obtained the eye of the demon god?" asked the demon god. "My luck is very good, and I thank the demon god for his generous gift," said Chen. The demon god said, "Do you know why I left this scroll to you, the one who obtained the eye of the demon god?" Chen shook his head and said, "Mo Chen is stupid. I hope the demon god can tell me." In fact, Chen could have guessed it, but he deliberately acted like he was not very smart. "Because I want the people of the future to remember that when they encounter the damned spirit race, they must not be careless. They must see things for what they are." The demon god had obviously experienced this personally. He originally thought that this was a scheme against the spirit race's Saint Venerables, but he did not expect to lose his life as well. The eye of the demon god can see through illusions and see the truth. Once you invade the world of the spirit race, with the guidance of the eye of the demon god, you will not have to worry about the spirit race's schemes. The demon god's remnant spiritual sense spoke, and Chen listened quietly, occasionally nodding to show that he understood. The demon god looked around and saw that all the demons were looking in his direction. His body was motionless, as if he was in a frozen space. The demon god scroll can be given to you, and you can control the spirit core channel inside, but the final demon gods must be obtained by you. However, although your cultivation level is very low, the purity of your soul power has shocked even me. Even in our era, with such soul power, you would be outstanding among your peers. The demon god paused and said, "Actually, I think very highly of you, but whether or not you have the strength to obtain the final demon gods will depend on you. However, if you can use a part of the scroll's power right now to suppress their cultivation level, there may be a chance of success. However, you do not have much time." The demon god's voice fell, and his body disappeared back into the scroll. He did not disappear, which made Chen even more nervous. He was very worried that he would expose some flaw. Everything returned to normal. The scroll in Chen's hand was blooming with countless rays of light. At this moment, he was the focus of everyone's attention. Chen looked at everyone and said, "It's just a useless thing. It doesn't have any aura. It's far from the demon god's weapon. You guys continue." As Chen spoke, he retreated. But who would believe him? The scroll was still blooming with countless rays of light. It could not be suppressed, so how could it be ordinary? Moreover, many people suspected that this scroll was the demon god's scroll that they had seen before. If it was, then it would be a supreme treasure. After all, the picture scroll could trap many spiritual race Saint Venerables inside. "Kill him," said a half-step Saint Venerate indifferently. He did not immediately move forward because he did not want to give up on the weapon that was so close. Moreover, Chen was only an 8-star saint spirit, so it should be very easy to deal with him. Practically all the other half-step Saint Venerates made the same decision. They would snatch the weapon in front of them first. As for the scroll, they would snatch it after they obtained the weapon and grew stronger. Seeing so many 9-star Saint spirits moving forward, Zichen's eyes lit up, and he smiled. Since you all insist on being arrogant, then heaven is giving you a chance. It will be hard for you not to fight for it. Zichen immediately circulated his soul energy and gathered it in the scroll. He had to refine the scroll first. The demon god was still watching. He had to fight for the final opportunity. Not to mention whether he could snatch it or not, he had to at least exhaust the demon god's spiritual sense. Otherwise, if he exposed himself and got surrounded by these half-step Saint Venerates, it would be troublesome. Hence, Zichen chose to retreat when he saw these 9-star Saint spirits charging forward. Chapter 42:31. Zichen, who was running away, was trying to buy himself more time to refine the scroll. As for those 9-star Saint spirits, they could just chase after them. If it was really like a game of cat and mouse, it would be great to play until he could control the scroll. Whoosh! A sword light cut through the sky and went straight for Zichen's back. Zichen tapped his foot and dodged quickly. Like a stream of light, he avoided the attack of the sword light in time. The sword light turned back when the attack missed. The sky darkened, and a 5-fingered palm print appeared. Demonic chi rolled and fell from the sky. The descending palm print continued to enlarge, covering the sky and the sun. Zichen's figure immediately sped up, barely dodging this attack. The earth roared, and a deep palm print appeared on the ground. Just as he escaped the range of the palm print, another black mountain fell from the sky and smashed down on his head. This time, Zichen was unable to dodge. There was a loud boom and the mountain exploded. However, the scene of an 8-star Holy Spirit dying on the spot did not happen. Instead, they saw Zichen, who was protected by a demonic light, flying forward at a very fast speed. The 9-star Saint Spirit who was hit was slightly stunned. He did not die. Although the demon god's mind had returned to the scroll, after the scroll was unfolded, his soul power began to count down. Now, even if he was in the scroll, he could clearly see what was happening outside. At the same time, he felt that the soul power of this person called Mo Chen was really amazing. Previously, he was a bit euphemistic. Now that he was in the scroll and felt Zichen's soul power, he was a little envious of this person called Mo Chen. Because when he was an 8-star Saint Spirit, he did not have such pure and strong soul power. Now, Mo Chen's realm was a little low, so it was a little difficult for him to refine the scroll. If he was a 9-star Saint Spirit, it would be much easier. Of course, his scroll was extraordinary. Mo Chen could refine it as an 8-star Saint Spirit, which was unique. He just did not know how strong the other's combat strength was. The demon god had some expectations in his heart. When he was counting down to the end of his life, he was very gratified to find such a junior in the demon race. Sure enough, powerful soul power did not mean that one's strength and speed were extraordinary. Mo Chen was soon blocked by the 9-star Holy Spirits. Next, they would have to fight. The demonic god was looking forward to it. If their battle prowess was even stronger, it would be perfect. Unexpectedly, after the first round, Mo Chen, whom he had been expecting, was sent flying by a 9-star Saint Spirit. Although he didn't die on the spot, he looked very weak. The demonic god was stunned. How could this be? Zichen, who was sent flying backward, quickly ran away. However, he encountered a second 9-star Saint Spirit. Once again, Zichen was sent flying and tried to escape. The demon god couldn't believe it. How could someone with such powerful soul power be so weak? However, after several confrontations with the 9-star Saint Spirit, the demon god understood that this kid was hiding his strength and was still stalling for time. So he reminded him, if you continue to delay, the situation will be very bad for you. Because they have many people, they don't have to worry about consumption. However, your strength is limited after all. If you don't want to fight, you can throw away the scroll. In this way, not only can you divert their attention, but you can also survive. Of course, if you want to fight, you can only use your combat strength to awe them. Zichen understood the meaning of the demon god's words. It was nothing more than asking him to fight. This made Zi Chen a little happy in his heart because the demon god could not wait any longer. Maybe he would disappear soon, and then it would be time for him to run away. However, since the demon god wanted to see his battle prowess, he naturally had to satisfy him. What if the demon god was happy and excited and disappeared in advance? So, Zi Chen once again faced a 9-star saint spirit. The other party had a hideous smile on his face. Zi Chen also smiled, and the demonic light on his fist surged. Boom! A powerful wave of qi surged, forming ripples that spread out. Zi Chen did not slow down and flew into the distance, while the 9-star saint spirit was sent flying backward. The situation was reversed in an instant. Such a scene stunned all the 9-star saint spirits. They thought that this was a weak little chicken that could not stand a gust of wind, and no one really took him seriously. They did not expect that he had been hiding his strength all this time. Was this a classic case of playing the pig to eat the tiger? Zi Chen then burst out with full strength, and all the demons in contact with him were sent flying by him. You can indeed fight above your level. While you have strong soul power, your combat strength is also very good. The demon god nodded, satisfied with this. At this moment, Zi Chen shouted, "Don't force me, I don't want to kill." Hearing this, the demon god's eyes lit up, and said, "Which demon powerhouse's growth is not built on mountains of corpses and seas of blood? The weak are prey to the strong, this is the unchanging law of survival." Zi Chen said again, "I don't want to kill, you really don't force me." The demons at the back began to laugh, and of course, there was no lack of cursing. The demon god was egging him on. He wanted to see if this Mo Chen could kill people above his level. "Oh, I forgot to remind you, if you are too far away from them, those illusory demon god auras may disappear," the demon god suddenly reminded him. Zi Chen's face immediately turned cold. "My lord, why didn't you say such an important thing earlier?" Zi Chen began to regret. If he had known this would happen, he would not have gone in circles with these people. "Kill if you need to." A light flashed in his hand, and a demonic saber that had undergone lesser refinement appeared. The next moment, Zi Chen's figure disappeared. He came to the side of a 9-star saint spirit and raised his saber. With a puff, a human head flew high into the air. A 9-star saint spirit died in an instant. A light flashed under Zi Chen's feet, and he disappeared again. He appeared in front of a second demon and continued to slash. As expected, the second 9-star saint spirit was beheaded. Zi Chen really wanted to kill, for himself and for the Ling clan. If he killed more demons now, the Ling clan would have fewer enemies in the future. His eyes were cold and cruel. They had been laughing at Zi Chen's existence, but now they were all dumbfounded. In the blink of an eye, 4 9-star demons had died. The demon god was very excited. This was the battle strength that should be matched with powerful soul power. Not only could he fight above his level, but he could also easily kill enemies above his level. He was very gratified to hand over his inheritance to the other party. The 5th demon fell. The 6th died. The original 9-star saint spirits chased after Zi Chen like a dog, but now the situation was reversed. Everyone began to flee in panic. Zi Chen held a long saber in his hand and followed behind like a god of death. There were no powerful demon techniques, only the simplest killing moves, but each one was fatal. This was the real killing technique. The movement here immediately attracted the attention of the half-step holy venerables. They frowned and began to hesitate. At this moment, the demon god weapons that they were fighting for suddenly disappeared. Chapter 42-32. It was unknown whether it was because the demon god's time was up or because of some other reason, but the illusory demon god weapons started disappearing one after another, scattering like smoke. They could no longer maintain the illusion. The expressions of the half-step holy venerates who were fighting over the treasures all changed in disbelief when they saw this scene. The half-step holy venerate who had already snatched a weapon was completely stunned. The weapon in his hand disappeared. All the other weapons in his sight also disappeared. The feeling of reality that he had obtained earlier was fake. Everything was fake. How could this be? Everyone was stunned. Could it be that the scene of them fighting to the death just now was all fake? Cries for help rang out from behind. Zi Chen was still killing with his saber. Everything else was fake. Only Zi Chen's painting was real. At this moment, everyone's gazes were fixed on Zi Chen. Lord Demon God, what is going on? Zi Chen also sensed the abnormality in front and quickly asked. Everything earlier was shown by the Demon God's painting. Now that the painting is in your hands, it will be refined. Without the painting's soul energy, everything will return to normal. The Demon God was in a good mood, smiling as he replied. If an 8-star Demon God already had such strength, then what would happen when he reached the Holy Venerate realm? The Demon God now had high expectations for Mo Chen. Zi Chen's thoughts raced as he asked, then what should I do? Those half-step Holy Venerates had already stopped fighting. Furthermore, they were all looking at Zi Chen with unfriendly gazes, like hunters staring at their prey. This made Zi Chen's hair stand on end. No matter how strong he was, he could not be a match for these half-step Holy Venerates. Furthermore, some of these half-step Holy Venerates had a portion of the Demon God's power. Continue fighting. The Demon God said, don't you want the final good thing? Zi Chen actually wanted to say that he did not want it. However, he did not dare to reveal any flaws. Thus, he said without batting an eyelid, I already obtained the painting. I might as well retreat and not fight for the final opportunity. They are too strong. I am not a match for them at all. This kind of opportunity only comes once in a lifetime. As the owner of the scroll, you should fight for it. The Demon God's tone was somewhat harsh. After saying this, his aura suddenly weakened. At this moment, Zi Chen noticed an abnormal fluctuation in the sky. He looked up and saw a glowing ball. Inside the ball was the demonic will of the Demon God. Those half-step holy sovereigns were already charging forward. Zi Chen began to retreat. At the same time, he pointed to the sky and shouted, the biggest opportunity is there. Hurry up and snatch it. The group of half-step Holy Venerates raised their heads but did not see anything. He had been played. He had been tricked again. Everyone's eyes turned even colder. Zi Chen didn't understand why everyone wasn't fighting for the greatest opportunity in this place. Instead, they were all rushing toward him. The Demon God smiled and said, currently, only you can see what you are talking about. Others cannot see it. Zi Chen suddenly understood and cursed his bad luck. These people could not see the resources, so of course they would think that he was lying. They had already been tricked. For something that did not exist, they had continuously fought and even risked their lives. They had lost a lot of face. Now, he had said something that they could not see. The group of half-step holy sovereigns naturally thought that he was mocking them. If they didn't kill him, who would they kill? Zi Chen couldn't voice his bitterness. Facing such a situation, he actually had a plan in his heart, but the enemy coming so quickly was still beyond his expectations. Zi Chen did not believe that this had nothing to do with the Demon God's remnant will. But so what? He could not fall out with the Demon God now. Since the Demon God had the ability to play some tricks, he naturally had the ability to put Zi Chen in an even greater predicament. Right now, Zi Chen could only accept his fate. One of the half-step Holy Venerates closest to Zi Chen already arrived before him. Before he made a move, his Holy Venerate aura already made Zi Chen feel threatened. After all, Xiao Chen was only an 8-star Holy Venerate. Zi Chen circulated the energy in his body at full force. He did not dare to be careless and formed a defense. A light of magic lit up and protected him in the middle. In such a situation, you should actually try to take the initiative to attack. The Demon God's remnant will at the side was still making sarcastic remarks. Zi Chen could not say anything. The half-step Holy Venerate approached, and a horrifying attack landed on Zi Chen's defense. With an intense boom, Zi Chen's defense broke, and he quickly retreated. Now that Zi Chen truly felt the strength of a half-step Holy Venerate, he realized how strong that cultivation was. Even though he had taken the wrong path, this cultivation was still much stronger than a 9-star Holy Spirit. As Zi Chen flew back, the half-step Holy Venerate caught up and attacked again. Zi Chen could only cross his arms to block. Bang! The energy trembled again, and Zi Chen continued to fly back. The Demon God's remnant will commented, Your physical body is pretty good as well. Chen was so angry that he wanted to curse. After he stabilized his body, he turned and ran. There were only 10-odd half-step holy venerates here. Chen was not a match for them. He could only wait patiently for the demon god's remnant will to disappear. Then, he would take the opportunity to escape. Where do you think you are going? A cold voice rang out beside Chen. It was a half-step holy venerate who arrived before Chen. This was someone who had obtained the demon god's leg energy. His speed was much faster than ordinary people of the same cultivation realm. Just as this voice rang out, Chen started to dodge. Once the strong energy swept past, even if he did not die, he would be injured. Who knew, right after Chen dodged, danger approached him. It was another person who had obtained the demon god's strength. This person grasped the timing very well. It was like he had been standing there for a long time, waiting for Chen to arrive. Just as Chen felt that something was wrong, the other party's attack approached. That was a full-powered kick containing the demon god's strength. Even though Chen's physical body was not weak, if the kick landed, his bones would probably break. Just as danger approached, Chen used the demon god's eye. The space around him seemed to twist. The kick that was about to land suddenly slowed down as though it was blocked. A demonic light flickered in Chen's eyes, adding a trace of coldness to them. Xiao Chen's figure flashed as he punched, completing this extremely quickly. The energy exploded in front of the half-step holy venerate's chest, sending out layers of ripples. The half-step holy venerate flew back. The light in Chen's eyes faded, and his complexion paled. This was the first time Xiao Chen used the demon god's eye on the battlefield. However, the effect was surprisingly good. However, he could only land one strike. The other half-step holy venerates had already caught up, surrounding Chen. Chapter 42-33. Chen was surrounded by a group of half-step sacred sovereigns. Everyone was filled with murderous intent. After all, they had not obtained anything after coming here. However, an 8-star saint spirit had obtained the demonic god's painting. They were naturally unhappy, but Chen was calmly dealing with them. Facing such a situation, Chen should be nervous. However, he was not. He was very calm. He calmly looked at everyone. A half-step sacred sovereign said with disdain, "You know you are going to die. Are you accepting your fate?" Chen smiled and said, "I am seeing which one of you deserves a beating. That's why I am hesitating about who to attack first." The half-step sacred sovereign coldly said, "You don't know life from death. You are about to die, yet you still dare to boast so shamelessly." Chen looked at him and said, "It seems like you are the one who deserves a beating the most. Then, I will start with you. You are courting death." Before Chen could attack, the half-step sacred sovereign was already enraged. He rushed towards Chen. The others did not move. They quietly watched. Some people's expressions changed as if they were guessing whether Chen was telling the truth or not. In the next moment, Chen waved his hand. The demonic god's painting opened in his hand. It looked like a mountain and river painting or a world. When the painting opened in the past, all the sacred sovereigns of the spirit race were trapped inside. If Lei Yutian had not broken the painting with his sword and placed the spirit core inside, the demonic god would have refined everyone. After so many years, the painting opened again. However, it was different this time. The one controlling the painting was the spirit race, and all the demonic race were trapped inside. The demon god laughed. He was very satisfied with the performance of this young man, Mo Chen. He had deliberately made such a move to force Mo Chen. He did not expect that Mo Chen would work so hard and master the scroll so quickly. After everyone was trapped in the painting, their postures did not change. Chen was still surrounded. The half-step sacred sovereign who was about to attack earlier stopped with a vigilant expression. "Is this the painting of the demon god?" A half-step sacred venerable asked in astonishment. Chen looked at him. "What do you think?" he asked mockingly. The half-step holy venerate's face darkened. In the distance were the 9-star saint spirits. When Chen opened the scroll, he brought them in as well. None of them were left behind. Chen said, I told you before that there was an opportunity in the sky, but you all acted like idiots and didn't believe me. And now? The half-step holy venerates exchanged glances. Perhaps it was because of Chen's harsh tone that they did not dare to act rashly. Chen's gaze swept past the half-step sacred venerables who had obtained the Archdevil's inheritance and continued, if you idiots can obtain the Archdevil's inheritance, how can I not? Chen pointed to his eyes and said, see? Demon God's eye. My eyes can see through illusions and see the truth. Earlier, there was indeed an opportunity. Furthermore, it was the Archdevil's most powerful soul remembrance inheritance. However, you idiots did not believe me and thought I was toying with you. Do you all believe me now? Unfortunately, it's too late. Now, tell me, who wants to be beaten up first? The current Chen, regardless of how strong he was at least several times more arrogant than before. Everyone present was a half-step sacred venerate, the strongest person below the demon sovereign. Now, they were being taught a lesson by a mere 8-star saint spirit. Everyone looked at each other again and decided not to wait any longer. They would attack first. In an instant, all the half-step sacred venerates communicated with their soul remembrance and charged at Chen. A mocking smile appeared on Chen's face. I admit that you are very strong outside. However, in this Archdevil's painting, you are all insects in my eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen snapped his fingers. Laws surged in the painting, and a powerful pressure descended. The powerful auras of the half-step sacred venerates charging forward instantly weakened. In the entire realm, all the half-step sacred venerates became 9-star saints. As for the 9-star saint spirits in the distance, they became 8-star saints. Light flowed around Chen's body. This was the protective energy of the painting. How about it? Chen looked at the shocked holy venerates and said, you did not want a good opportunity and insisted on coming to me to get beaten up. Is there a need for this? So what if you are 9-star? I can still kill you, an 8-star. These half-step sacred venerates, who were extremely proud in the outside world, did not hesitate to work together in the current situation. How shameless. Chen smiled coldly. Instead of retreating, he advanced. He was not confident of fighting half-step sacred venerates. However, since he was fighting 9-star saints, not to mention a dozen, he could deal with them even if more came. Xiao Chen exchanged a punch with a 9-star saint venerate whose cultivation dropped. Unsurprisingly, the other party went flying back. In the next moment, Chen's figure flashed. He dodged many attacks and arrived before the other party. Xiao Chen raised his saber, and a demonic light flickered. A scarlet line appeared in the air as that half-step sacred venerate whose cultivation dropped moved back. He did not die. A look of surprise appeared in Chen's eyes. Even though the other party's cultivation dropped, he still had the consciousness of a half-step sacred venerate and a strong physical body. The demonic god said, the quality of your weapon is too poor, and it is not fast. Otherwise, even if you did not die earlier, you would have been severely injured. No one else could hear this voice except for Chen. Chen replied helplessly, Lord Demonic God, I am just an ordinary demon. I do not have a clan behind me. I have to worry about other people's schemes all day long. Where could I get a good weapon? Only in a place like this where there are few people can I fight so wantonly. If it was outside, even if I could kill everyone, I could only tuck my tail between my legs and behave myself. Who knows, I might even have to smile when I meet them. The demonic god could understand Chen's words. Combat prowess was indeed important. However, a clan's faction was even more important. That was the source of one's growth. Chen had a good weapon on him, but he did not dare to take it out. If the demonic god sensed it, it would be troublesome. In such a situation, although Chen's combat prowess was still very strong, he did not suppress them. This was especially so after these half-step sacred venerates became cautious. It would be very difficult to injure one of them. If this situation continued, in their opinion, Chen would still be the one at a disadvantage. However, these half-step sacred venerates clearly did not want to continue waiting. Hence, one of them shouted impatiently, "What are you all standing there for? Come over and attack together." The people present were either 9-star Holy Spirits or half-step Sacred Venerates. Now, they actually had to work together to deal with a mere 8-star Holy Spirit. However, they did not feel embarrassed at all. In the next moment, those 8-star Holy Spirits whose cultivation dropped flew over. When Zichen saw this scene, he felt somewhat helpless. He could only use some of his trump cards. Chapter 42-34. The moment the spectre appeared, everyone's expression changed when they sensed its aura. Zichen gave the ghost an order. The ghost turned into a stream of light and went straight to the 8-star Holy Spirits who had temporarily dropped in rank. "It's a fiend celestial beast," a 9-star Holy Spirit exclaimed. He turned out to be a half-step Holy Venerable. The others were also shocked because the aura emitted by the ghost was almost the same as the fiend celestial beast. This was the biggest trump card Zichen could show at the moment because he did not dare to use anything else. It was just that the shock that this move brought to everyone was still at its peak. Even the demon god's remnant thought was shocked. He did not expect Mo Chen to have such a special fiend celestial beast. Just by looking at the quality of its soul power, it was not weaker than the one that had followed him everywhere. Pure soul power, strong physical body, and strong combat strength. Coupled with the fiend celestial beast in front of him, Mo Chen was simply the best candidate for the future demon god. He was even more like a demon god than he was back then. Only the power was a little strange. It had the aura of the Spirit Clan. However, this did not affect his good impression of Mo Chen because as long as his soul power was pure, it was enough. Soul power was the foundation of the demon clan. The ghost moved forward. When it got close, it opened its mouth and inhaled at the 8-star Holy Spirits. A strange force moved forward. In just one breath, 2 8-star Holy Spirits lost control of their soul power and left their bodies to be devoured by the ghost. When the other Holy Spirits saw this, they immediately retreated. Their eyes were filled with infinite horror. This fiend celestial beast killed 2 8-star Holy Spirits instantly. Its combat strength was simply terrifying. They were no match for it at all. They began to run. However, this was the world of the scroll. They could only escape in a very small area. In addition, their speed was not as fast as the ghost. Death was only a matter of time. On the other side, the half-step Holy Venerables could not do anything to Zichen for the time being. In addition, Zichen had another fiend celestial beast. Once all the 8-star Holy Spirits were killed, the man and the beast would join forces to kill them. When they joined forces to fight against Zichen, they began to communicate with their soul thoughts. "We are no match for him here. If we continue to delay, the situation will be very unfavorable for us. Let's retreat first and take the great opportunity outside. Once we leave this place, it won't be too late to join hands and kill him." Right now, they were already considered great enemies by Zichen. Even if a group of half-step Holy Venerates joined forces, they would not feel ashamed. Although the devil world is big, as long as we join hands, there will be no place for that brat to hide. Alright, let's work together to break out of this place. We'll kill him once we're outside. In a short moment, the group of half-step Holy Venerates made their decision. In the next moment, they joined forces and attacked toward the sky. Streams of power shot up into the sky. When they reached the sky, they converged together before abruptly attacking one spot. A loud boom rang out as a powerful force erupted. The space in the sky began to distort, as though it was about to shatter. "You want to leave just like that? That's impossible. Have you asked me?" Zichen said coldly. "Hold on for a bit longer. When I can control the killing power in the scroll, I'll send you away." When the group heard this, they did not dare to stay here any longer and attacked once more. The violently distorting space shattered, and a pitch-black passage appeared in the sky. The group of half-step Holy Venerates did not hesitate to fly into the sky. Before they left, they did not forget to release a powerful attack to force Zichen back. As for the 8-star Holy Spirits, their souls had all been devoured by the spectre. After retreating, Zichen steadied himself and quietly watched the group of half-step Holy Venerates flee. Break out of the scroll? That was impossible. They were not Lei Yutian and did not have the power of that sword. It was just that Zichen wanted them to leave. It was not that he did not want to kill them, but he did not dare to expose his identity. After the group of half-step holy venerates left, the black passage in the sky closed. A light flashed beside Zichen, and the demon god appeared. The spectre that had devoured the soul power of the 8-star holy spirits was flying towards Zichen. However, when it saw the demon god, it suddenly stopped and looked at him warily. The demon god was also sizing up the spectre. During this time, he used his remaining soul power to carefully investigate the spectre. In the end, he sighed and said, "Amazing, really amazing." Zichen scratched his head and asked, "Is it really a demon god beast?" The demon god smiled and said, "Only the battle beasts beside the demon god are demon god beasts." Zichen immediately understood. There was no such thing as a demon god beast in this world, and there was no such thing as a pure bloodline. Only the one beside the demon god was a demon god beast. The demon god waved his hand, and a light fell from the sky. It was the demon god's soul power. Even if only a remnant soul was left, the demon god still had the absolute right to distribute the opportunities here. The previous tests were only for Zichen. Now that Zichen had passed the tests, the opportunities naturally belonged to Zichen. The demon god took the soul power and said, "You have passed the test. Now, it belongs to you." Zichen took the soul power and said excitedly, "Thank you, Lord Demon God." Zichen kept the soul power and did not immediately refine it. The demon god did not ask for the reason and continued, "Originally, everything ended here. But when I saw the soul power you used in battle, I felt a sense of déjà vu. I finally remembered where I had seen it before." The demon god took out another item. After taking out this item, his body immediately became illusory and would dissipate at any time. In his hand, a black piece of armor appeared. The armor piece emitted a strong soul power fluctuation. When Zichen saw the armor piece and sensed the power it emitted, his expression could not help but change. This was because the aura was somewhat similar to his dark ghost soul devouring technique. Or rather, the two had a feeling that they came from the same source. I accidentally obtained this. It should be a soul power cultivation technique. It's just that I haven't been able to successfully comprehend it all this time. The reason my soul has been able to persist until now is also because of this. Not only can it protect soul power at a critical moment, it can also be used as a magic treasure. The demon god said, "Now, I am giving this final item to you. I hope you can comprehend it and carry it forward. Once you become the leader of the demon race, you must kill your way into the spirit realm and completely exterminate the spirit race." The demon god said coldly, "The spirit race should not exist. It is because they are struggling at death's door that we do not have eternal peace." Zichen solemnly received the black armor piece. In Zichen's eyes, it was much more valuable than the demon god's soul power. Receiving the armor piece with both hands, Zichen expressed his thanks again. "No need to be so polite. This is your good fortune. You must remember, in the future, you must destroy the spirit race." The demon god said again. It was clear that he was very obsessed with killing the spirit race. Zichen asked, "How do I kill my way into the spirit realm?" The demon god said, "There is a spirit core in the scroll. As long as you activate its power, you can open a passage between the two realms. However, this area has already been sealed by me. The spirit core failed once, and the laws have completely blocked it, so it cannot be opened here." After a pause, the demon god said, "But I advise you not to open the passage for now. You need to grow quickly. Once you become a holy sovereign, you can gather the strength of the demon race and kill your way into the spirit realm." Zichen nodded, indicating that he understood. Without the support of the armor plate, the demon god's remnant consciousness could not hold on any longer. After exhorting Zichen a few more times to kill as many spirit tribe members as possible, his figure disappeared. Zichen, who was in the demon god's scroll, could clearly feel the demon god's aura disappear. At the same time, because of the demon god's disappearance, his control of the demon god's scroll improved. With the demon god gone, Zichen could finally relax. He let out a deep breath. He had obtained what he should have obtained, and what he should not have obtained. This was a good thing. Now, he had to think about how to leave. After controlling the scroll, He knew the location of the spirit core. However, just as the demon god said, the spirit core had failed once in this sealed world, so it could not be used a second time. If he wanted to leave the demon realm and return to the spirit realm, he had to leave this sealed place first. Before that, he had to leave the world of the scroll. His figure flashed, and Zichen appeared in an open area. The half-step holy sovereigns had not left yet. They were gathered together, thinking about something. After Zichen appeared, everyone's gazes fell on him. Their gazes were extremely unfriendly. Zichen smiled and said, "What? Are you thinking about how to kill me? Do you want to try again?" He raised the scroll in his hand, and his smile carried a hint of provocation. Naturally, no one dared to make a move at this time. Zichen shook his head and said disappointedly, "It is indeed as the demon god said. You people who took the wrong path are all cowards and brainless." Zichen pointed to the sky and said, "Earlier, the demon god took out the greatest opportunity, but you all chose to reject it." He was already very disappointed. "In the end, you all joined forces to fight me, but you all ran away first." He was even more disappointed. "Therefore, he gave the last opportunity to me. Don't even think about it." The half-step holy sovereigns who had recovered their cultivation looked at each other with doubtful expressions. Could it be that the fiend celestial had seen all of this? Just at this moment, soul energy fluctuations appeared in the sky, and a passage appeared. The demon god's inheritance had been obtained, and this sealed place was about to disappear. Once the passage opened, everyone could leave. Those half-step holy venerables were the first to leave without hesitation. Even though they had gained a lot in coming here this time, although they had obtained many things, they were still lacking compared to Zichen. There were even some half-step holy sovereigns who only obtained some ordinary demonic energy. Earlier, they had fought to the death for that illusory weapon, but they had obtained nothing. Zichen followed behind unhurriedly. The mission was completed, so it was time for him to leave. Chapter 42-35. After the passageway opened, everyone left. This time, as long as they were still alive, they had gained a lot. After these people appeared, they gathered together and talked about the dangers they encountered earlier with those they were familiar with. They described the various dangers vividly as if they were reliving them. Liu Zhen also gained a lot. However, he could not feel happy at this moment. The smile on his face was somewhat forced. He was worried about Zichen. He was not really worried about Zichen's life or death. Instead, he was worried about whether Zichen completed the mission or not. Even if Zichen completed the mission and died in battle, it was fine. As long as the mission was completed, it would be fine. Unfortunately, Liu Zhen could not see any trace of Mo Chen. This worried him. Just at this moment, beams of light flashed, and a group of half-step holy venerates appeared. Startled cries rang out in the surroundings. Liu Zhen immediately looked in that direction, feeling very nervous. There was no trace of Mo Chen. Furthermore, Liu Zhen discovered that only the half-step holy venerates appeared. Where were the other experts they brought? These half-step holy venerates did not appear to be in a good mood. Furthermore, after they appeared, they seemed to want to group up. Light flowed around their bodies. However, they did not withdraw their energy even now. It seemed like they were still on guard. This made everyone wonder what they encountered earlier. Just at this moment, another beam of light appeared. This time, there was only one beam of light. Liu Zhen walked towards that beam of light and finally saw Mo Chen. His eyes lit up with anticipation. As for the half-step holy venerates, their gazes turned cold. "Which clan are you from?" The half-step holy venerate who received one of Zichen's punches asked indifferently. It was as Zichen once said to the demon god. Once one returned to the demon world, one's combat prowess was no longer important. One's clan and faction would become the main thing to rely on. Clearly, the other party wanted to use his strength to suppress others. The others also sensed that something was wrong. They immediately retreated and watched silently. "What does it have to do with you?" Zichen glanced at the other party. When he saw the other party's sullen expression, he said indifferently, "What's wrong? You want to use your strength to suppress others? Who do you think you are? An uproar broke out as soon as he spoke. A mere 8-star saint spirit dared to insult a half-step holy venerate like that? Many people were guessing the identity of this 8-star holy spirit. At the same time, they looked at him with pity in their eyes. No matter what faction the other party had behind him was, since he dared to offend a half-step holy venerate, his future would be miserable. I don't care which clan you are from, but we will remember you. The half-step sovereign coldly said. So what? Zichen said disdainfully. Do you think all of you idiots can suppress me? Let me tell you, ever since I obtained the inheritance of the demon god, I, Mo Chen, am part of the demon god bloodline. If you have the ability, come at me. The crowd was in an uproar again. The way everyone looked at Zichen had completely changed. Liu Zhan, on the other hand, was very excited because Mo Chen had obtained the inheritance. Perhaps it was possible to complete the task. Zichen pointed at the half-step holy venerates who had surrounded him and said, "You idiots, the moment the demon god gave up on you, you lost your future. Now, you don't hurry up and go hide. Instead, you dare to cause trouble in front of me? Do you want my demon god bloodline to kill you all?" Zichen's words were very firm. Even the half-step holy venerates could not tell if he was telling the truth or not. Furthermore, this was the first time they had heard of the demon god bloodline. Could it be that when he obtained the inheritance of the demon god, he also obtained the power of the demon god bloodline? Just as the half-step holy venerates were feeling shaken, they saw Zichen immediately take out the painting. When they saw this scene, their expressions changed again. Some of them subconsciously retreated. Zichen's eyes turned cold. Previously, the demon god saw all of this, so I naturally had to be benevolent. But now, there is no need to worry. There is no need for you to inquire about my background. After I slaughter you idiots, my name will naturally spread throughout the world. At that time, it will be impossible for you not to know about me. Zichen unfurled the scroll, and a powerful force began to vibrate, causing ripples to spread out in all directions. When the half-step holy venerates saw this, they immediately retreated. They did not know if Zichen was telling the truth or not, but they all knew that if the painting closed again, it would be very troublesome. They might really die. When one of them retreated, the others also retreated. In an instant, they opened up a large space for Zichen. Zichen unfurled the painting and controlled it to take out the spirit core. The moment the spirit core appeared, a spirit energy storm appeared in the surroundings. Aside from the half-step holy venerates, the others did not understand what this was. The spirit core took root in the void and started to grow. This is the passage to the spiritual realm. What are you doing? Asked a half-step holy venerate. What am I doing? Naturally, I am using the name of the demon god to summon you all. Then, we will kill our way into the spiritual realm together. Zichen mocked. What? Are you all afraid? The flower bud started to bloom in the sky, wildly swallowing up the spirit energy in the surroundings. The half-step holy venerate stood there, not knowing whether they should stop Xiao Chen or not. You can't. Just at this moment, a cold voice suddenly rang out. A pressure appeared in the world, the might of a true holy venerate. When this might appeared, the speed at which the spirit core absorbed spirit energy slowed. Zichen's expression changed. He had not expected there to be a holy venerate here. If the other party came out to stop him in such a situation, wouldn't he be finished? A holy venerate stood in the air and threw a palm strike downwards. A large energy hand appeared in the sky, about to collect the spirit core. Zichen stood there, not knowing what to do. The situation had already surpassed his expectations. Just as the large energy hand was about to land on the spirit core, another holy venerate's aura suddenly appeared. A person appeared out of nowhere and raised a palm strike at the same time, clashing with the large energy hand in the sky. With a loud boom, the two huge energy hands collapsed. Layers of energy waves dissipated in the sky, not affecting the spirit core below. Zichen looked up and saw that it was an old man. The old man turned his head and said, "You go first." This old man was none other than the housekeeper who had been following the Lian clan head in Demon Ward City. The other party was actually a holy venerate. At this moment, the spirit core's flower started to bloom. A shining transportation array appeared. This was the transportation array to the spiritual realm. Zichen cupped his fists at the old man and thanked him. Then, he stepped into the transportation array. Who knew that at this moment, another person would suddenly appear beside Zichen? It was a holy venerate. This was a demon race holy venerate. After he appeared, he said coldly, "You want to leave? Do you think it's possible?" Chapter 42:36. The change happened so suddenly that no one could react in time. A demon wanted to open a passage to the spiritual realm, but a demon saint suddenly came out to stop him. It was strange, but a spirit saint came out to stop him. He seemed to want to help the demon saint. Everything seemed to have been reversed. The 8-star demon wanted to enter the spiritual realm. Everyone was puzzled. At this moment, a second demon saint appeared and stopped the demon saint in time. The energy hand moved forward to catch the demon saint. At this moment, a ray of light bloomed, and a palace with thunder and lightning suddenly appeared in front of the energy hand. Thunder and lightning bloomed and blocked the energy hand. With a boom, the giant hand collapsed, and the palace returned to its original position. With this block, the transmission was completed successfully. The light of the teleportation array disappeared along with Zichen's figure. Even now, no one could react. Or rather, they still did not understand what was going on. Liu Zhen's eyes were fixed on the sky. When he was still a member of the spirit tribe, he had heard from his master, Old Blind, that there was a holy sovereign of the spirit tribe in this world. All the spirit tribe members were secretly protected by him. The development of the spirit tribe over the years was inseparable from the help of the holy sovereign. Now, he saw him. But why did he help Mo Chen? Hadn't the spirit clan been sabotaging the demon clan's plans all this time? Why did he help them now? All kinds of doubts arose in his mind, but they soon became clear. What if the one called Mo Chen came from the spiritual realm? Everything seemed to make sense. Old Blind was such a cautious person, but he trusted Mo Chen unconditionally and was even willing to share all his secrets. Why? As a member of the Devil Clan, Mo Chen had been helping the Spirit Clan wholeheartedly. Why was that? He was so powerful, but he had never heard of this person in the demon realm. Moreover, this person seemed to be particularly interested in the land of the demon god. Now, he understood. Lu Wu, since you're here, don't leave this time. The demon race holy venerate that failed said coldly. The steward smiled and said, "If you had the ability, I would have stayed many years ago." As soon as he finished speaking, the power around the spiritual clan's Saint Venerable twisted and disappeared. When the two holy venerates saw this, they snorted coldly and turned to leave. The crowd was left dumbfounded. They had no idea what was going on. Only Liu Zhen had some clues in her heart. Zichen used the Hall of Zichen to block the attack of the Devil Saint and smoothly left the spirit world. At the same time, he controlled the spirit core to come to the spirit world. What entered Zichen's eyes was not the abundant aura of the spirit realm, but an intense murderous aura. The entire world was filled with intense killing intent. It was as if there were countless killing intents and sword intents hidden within. Zichen stood in place, looking at the desolate surroundings, puzzled. Subconsciously, he used the eye of the demon god. Everything in his field of vision became clear. The originally desolate surroundings were filled with murderous intent. Countless restrictions were linked together and spread all around. Other than the area under his feet, which was less than a meter away from him, which was absolutely safe, everything else around him was filled with killing moves. Fortunately, he did not move. If he moved, he would trigger the killing formations around him. This made Zichen very puzzled. He was brought here by the Spirit Core Transportation Array. Why was it that aside from the place under his feet that was safe, everything else was filled with danger? Was this not the place where the Spirit Clan returned? What if the Spirit Clan experts from back then returned? Would he not die here again? Zichen suddenly became alert. Could it be that the enemy had set up an ambush here long ago? However, if that was the case, why did the demon god make such an unnecessary move and even sacrifice his life? Just as Zichen was feeling puzzled, A voice rang out beside his ear. "Young man, how did you get here?" This sudden voice startled Zichen. He subconsciously turned around. He saw an old man. In all these years, Zichen had never seen such an old man. His back was stooped, his hair was sparse, and his face was full of wrinkles. He was dressed in wrinkled and tattered hemp clothes, and in his hand was a polished wooden crutch. The old man's eyes were cloudy, like an ordinary person. Of course, Zichen would not treat him as an ordinary person, because an ordinary person would not be able to silently sneak up behind him, even if he used the eye of the demon god and saw an ordinary person. "Demon?" The old man's expression changed. Zichen said, "Spirit clan." Zichen dispersed the power around his body, and his vigorous spiritual power reappeared. The camouflage given to him by the Tree of Lightning was removed by Zichen himself. "Why are you here?" the old man asked. Zichen explained, "After I appeared from the demon realm, I came here." "You came from the demon realm?" The old man's expression changed. Zichen took out the spirit core. "It brought me here." "I see." The old man nodded, and then fell silent. Zichen asked, "If I may ask, Senior, what exactly is going on here? Why is there killing intent everywhere?" The old man's thoughts turned, and then he carefully sized up Zichen. Zichen calmly waited for him to continue. After a while, the old man said, "The spirit core is in your hands. What about the others?" Zichen said, "They all died in battle. Not even their bones are left." The old man didn't ask for more details. This is another part of the plan. Once everyone returns successfully, they will come here. If the devil race attacks, then this place will become the burial ground of all the devils. Zichen still did not understand, because there were killing techniques everywhere. Not only could they kill the demon race, but they could also kill the spirit race. The old man pointed at his feet. "This is a killing formation that can sense the essence of power. Any spirit race person who walks in here would be walking on flat ground, and any demon race person who enters would be in danger." Finally, the old man sighed. Obviously, the people from back then had not returned. Zichen suddenly thought of something. The old man had described it in such detail. Could it be that he was from back then? He stared with wide eyes, not daring to believe it. If he really was from back then he would be a holy sage. As if guessing what Zichen was thinking, the old man nodded. "Correct. I have lived a bit longer." "Right, what is your name?" Zichen clasped his hands. "Senior, my name is Zichen." The old man nodded and said nothing more. He turned around and walked off into the distance. His expression changed again, as if he had expected it. Zichen carefully followed. The old man asked, "Have you always lived in the demon realm?" Zichen shook his head, then explained. "So it was them." Chapter 42-37. The old man clearly knew about Chung Ho and the others, and spoke of their deeds along the way. Zichen, on the other hand, listened quietly and didn't interrupt. The old man, who hadn't introduced himself, suddenly asked, "When did you meet them?" "When I was in danger, they suddenly appeared and saved me," Zichen explained. The old man asked, "If they were so busy, how could they have the time to save you?" Zichen smiled bitterly. "Senior, please don't test me. If you have something to say, just say it. I'm Zichen, but I'm not the Zichen from back then. I'm me. When I met Senior Lei Yutian's soul, he recognized me, but I didn't recognize him. Senior, you're someone from back then, so you should have heard of the name Zichen. Unfortunately, that's not me. Or rather, I'm not him." Zichen's straightforwardness caused the old man to laugh. Back then, Holy Zichen's disappearance was one of the greatest mysteries of the spirit world. "Seeing you again made me curious." In truth, the old man had recognized Zichen at first glance, but he couldn't believe that this was an old friend from back then. Along the way, he had actually guessed the reason through his probing words. The Holy Zichen from back then had indeed perished. But how had Zichen perished? Was he that powerful? From what he could tell, even Zichen himself didn't know. "Senior," Zichen asked, "what exactly happened back then? Why did the demons invade our spirit world?" "I don't know the exact reason. It was as if the world's barrier suddenly became unstable. Not only did the demons invade, but the people of the God realm also entered. After they entered, they only had one goal: to kill and seize. Even after countless years, the old man's emotions still fluctuated as he recalled the scene from back then. The spirit world that we have lived in for countless years, the world that nurtured countless powerhouses, no longer seems to belong to us. The sky seems to be collapsing due to an inexplicable force. Unknown black lightning and flames fall from the sky, destroying everything in the world. One world after another was destroyed, and the tragedy of the spirit realm was happening again and again. The old man glanced back at Zi Chen. And you, the leader, after participating in several battles, suddenly disappeared. Zi Chen knew that disappearing meant that he was dead. As for why he had died, he still did not know. There has always been a rumor that you obtained those coordinates, and your guess all this time came true, so you went to another world. But this is just a rumor. The old man sighed emotionally. At that time, many people died, but there were also countless unknown existences who shocked the world with a single brilliant feat, killing countless enemies. In the end, the Astrals won, but it was a Pyrrhic victory. Lei Yutian's elder brother brought his remaining strength to the Devil realm. He wanted to kill the mastermind behind the scenes and verify a result, but he never returned. I have been waiting here for their return for many years. In just a few short sentences, he described the long war of the past. Although the words were simple, Zi Chen could imagine the bitterness of the battle. Unfortunately, you have no memories of the past. Otherwise, you would know exactly what happened. You disappeared from the spirit world. Perhaps someone in the spirit world plotted against you. But back then, your battle prowess was unparalleled, and you were the leader of the entire spirit world. I don't know who could have plotted against you. A thatched hut appeared in front of Zi Chen. It was the old man's resting place. The old man motioned for Zi Chen to follow him inside. After entering, Zi Chen realized that there was another world to this place. The thatched hut was just an illusion. This was another world. He saw all sorts of medicinal pills and holy talismans, as well as a few weapons. Zi Chen was shocked. The old man explained, "These are all the supplies prepared for the returnees. Unfortunately, they are no longer of any use. You can take them all." Me? Zi Chen was startled and flabbergasted. The spirit world has been peaceful for countless years. Those who fled back then were lucky enough not to die. They are recuperating and should be back soon. Take these things and go cultivate your power. When danger comes, I hope you can still become the leader of the spirit world. I'm just an 8 stars cultivator. How could I lead a team? Zi Chen said. Even if I were to lead a team, it should be someone like you, senior. After waiting for so many years, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. The old man walked forward. The space there began to distort, and the old man disappeared into the distorted space. Zi Chen called out senior a few times, but didn't get any response. This gave Zi Chen a bad feeling. What kind of sleep did the old man mean? He called out a few more times, but there was still no response. All that was left were the many supplies from back then. Zi Chen had no choice but to take them all away. During this trip to the demon realm, he didn't encounter too much danger. Instead, he obtained many opportunities. Normally, Zi Chen would be very happy and excited, but now, he felt a bit hesitant. After the old man disappeared, Zi Chen sensed the aura of heaven and earth that belonged to the spirit world. He naturally found the direction to leave in. He bowed and then turned into a ray of light and flew into the distance. After breaking through the barrier here, he finally returned to the spirit world. He felt the familiar aura of heaven and earth, and a sense of familiarity welled up in his heart. Zi Chen released his aura. This was what he had agreed to with Chung Ho. At the same time, Zi Chen took out the token that Chung Ho had given him. After a short while, a figure appeared. However, it wasn't Chung Ho, but Han En-yu. Zi Chen called out, "Big sister," and asked curiously why it wasn't Chung Ho. Han En-yu told him that Chung Ho was recuperating. Next, Han En-yu brought Zi Chen back to the demon-suppressing sect. Apart from Chung Ho, the other holy sovereigns were all there. Originally, Zichen only knew that they were holy sovereigns, but now, he had a different understanding. Not only were they holy sovereigns, but they were all ancient holy sovereigns. They sat together and asked Zichen about this mission. As for Chung Ho, he was leaning against the lightning tree. His face was pale, and his aura was unstable. At this moment, he looked at Zichen with a rare sincere smile on his face. In fact, they didn't need to ask to guess. These demon holy sovereigns were like mad dogs these days. Clearly, they were taking revenge after suffering a great loss. How could they suffer a loss for no reason? Of course, it was because Zichen had completed the mission. Chapter 42-38. Zichen took out the spirit core. Almost no one knew what it was, but everyone present was an ancient sacred venerable, so they naturally knew what it meant. With the spirit core, one could easily cross realms. Even in the past, this was an amazing thing, and it was extremely rare to see. Moreover, this was a spirit core with coordinates. However, this was something that Zichen had obtained, so it naturally belonged to Zichen. How could anyone accept it? Just as everyone was indifferent, Lady Han suddenly said, "Give it to me." Zichen naturally didn't have any objections and directly handed it to Lady Han. This time, the Devil Race's plan had failed. It would probably take a long time for them to invade the spirit realm again. Zichen's mission could be considered completed successfully. Zichen stayed for a while longer. After realizing that no one took the initiative to offer a reward, he bade farewell and left. It seemed that this mission was voluntary work that almost cost him his life. Lady Han still sent Zichen off outside the Holy Thunder Clan. She should also know Lei Zhengke, but she wasn't willing to face him. Chung Ho didn't like Lei Zhengke too much previously. Cultivate well. While the spirit realm is still relatively stable, strive to become stronger as soon as possible. If chaos comes, it will be too late. These were Lady Han's parting words. Zichen used the teleportation array to return to the Tianwu world. This time, he left for a short period of time, which was somewhat unexpected. Therefore, Zichen's return was very surprising. After all, in the past, he would disappear for hundreds of years. The teleportation channel through the Holy Talisman realm was still not completed. Even though Jolina had already sent people to work on it, it would still take a long time. Zichen went to check on the teleportation array. Then, he went to the vestigial race to chat with Tasha about the recent situation. The main reason was to let her know that he had returned and that she could discuss anything with him. Right now, the lost race was adapting to this world. Currently, no one had broken through to become a Saint Venerable, but the shackles of the past were no longer there. As long as they adapted to this world, someone would definitely break through. During this time, Jolina asked about the future of the vestigial race. Zichen still had the same answer. If they wanted to stay, he would welcome them. If they wanted to leave, he would not stop them. Zichen did not give the resources he obtained from the old man to Jolina. Instead, he kept them in his own hall. He had other uses for them. After seeing Tasha, Zichen went to find the small fairy. After all, his soul palace was with it. When the little fairy saw Zichen, she was very surprised. "Why are you back so soon?" According to the preparation of Zichen last time, little fairy felt that Zichen would definitely not come back for hundreds of years. But now, he came back in less than 3 years. "Let's see how you're doing," Zichen said. "Did you only eat and not work? You're back too soon. I thought that when you came back a few hundred years later, I could give you a big surprise." Little fairy said, "Come with me." Zichen was a little surprised. Could it be that he had really opened up a world? During this time, he used his soul power and the rules of this world to sense, but he did not find anything abnormal. In front of little fairy, the space rippled and a passage appeared. When the passage appeared, the world's rules discovered the abnormality. It could even avoid the rules, which surprised Zichen. This was equivalent to opening up a world right under his nose, and he did not have the slightest perception. "Let's go." Little fairy walked in front, and Zichen followed behind. They entered a space. This space was about 10 feet in size and was filled with rich soul power. However, there was only space and nothing else. This is the space opened up. It has already consumed a lot of soul power. If you want to turn this space into a world, such as having land and sky, you will need to consume even more soul power. Little Fairy said, before that, you have to be prepared in advance. Other than the core part of the soul hall, you can't keep the rest. Zichen asked, even if I give you all the resources in the lost world, you can't keep them? If you want an ordinary soul power world, it's possible, but since we've done it and have the ability to create a better world, there's no need to be thrifty. Moreover, the quality of your world is very high. If the world within a world is inferior to this world, what's the point? Although he knew that Little Fairy had her own thoughts, Zichen really couldn't refute her. Moreover, a soul hall left to him could only increase his own strength. However, if he could extend it to a world, the benefits would be for everyone. Zichen had no reason to refuse. After telling Little Fairy some details, Zichen left. He went to Lei Yu's place and heard from the people inside that Grace had come back, but only stayed for a few days before leaving again. After leaving Lei Yu's place, Zichen went to the Sacred Talisman Palace again. Along the way, the cultivators he met were full of respect for Zichen. 2 years ago, Zichen went to the He and Kui clans alone to find the remnants of the demon clan. Many people knew that Zichen had advanced to the 8-star realm. The 7-star Zichen was almost invincible in this world, let alone the 8-star realm. Some of the negative news about Zichen had already disappeared. Everyone and the forces had already seen that Zichen had completely established a foothold in the Holy Thunder clan. At the same time, he had also grown. Unless the sacred sage appeared, anyone who found trouble with Zichen was completely asking for trouble. Even the few clans that didn't get along with Zichen had calmed down a lot recently. After returning to the Tianwu continent, Zichen stayed in his room. Since everything had calmed down, he had to work hard to cultivate. Not only did he want to become a 9-star Holy Spirit, but he also wanted to become a sacred sage. Zichen took out the black armor plate that the demon god's remnant consciousness had given him. During this time, he separated a strand of soul power and poured it into it. Just as the soul power left his body, he cut off the perception of the soul power. After pouring the soul power into the armor plate, the black armor plate released a soft soul power light. Nothing unexpected happened. Zichen's worries were a little unnecessary. Then, he mobilized his soul power into the armor plate and felt a strong soul power. It was as if he was in a world of soul power and was constantly being nourished by the soul power. At this moment, Zichen also knew why the demon god's remnant consciousness could exist for so long. It was because of the black armor plate's protection. Zichen's soul power felt an aura of the same origin, but that was it. As for the cultivation technique that the demon god mentioned, Zichen didn't feel it. Chapter 4239. The defense Zichen discovered was called Shadow Ghost, but it hadn't been activated yet, so he didn't know what it was used for. If the demon god's remnant consciousness was here, he would definitely be very surprised or shocked. This was because he had studied the armor plate for many years. He knew that it had defensive properties, but he had never figured out a defensive method like Shadow Ghost. Zichen had a new mission, which was to comprehend Shadow Ghost as soon as possible. After all, it was something that even the demon god admired. For an 8-star like him, it was naturally very beneficial. Asterisk 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 Lei Di's residence had a rare guest. In the entire Saint Spirit world, no matter where he went, he was a distinguished guest. Lei Zhengke, the number 1 person in the Holy Thunder clan, or rather, the number 1 person in the Saint Spirit world. Lei Zhengke rarely went out. In these years, he went out a few times, but it was all for one person. Although he and Lei Di were both Saint Venerables, they didn't interact often. Today, besides being a distinguished guest, he was also a rare guest. Lei Zhengke silently appeared in front of Lei Di. Lei Di raised his head and looked at him, but didn't say anything. Zichen is back, Lei Zhengke said. Lei Di nodded. He knew about it, as the housekeeper had told him. You haven't told him yet? Lei Zhengke asked. Lei Di shook his head. Lei Zhengke was silent for a moment, then said, at this time, I think you should tell him the truth. Or rather, he already knew his identity, and guessed the main reason why we took care of him all these years. Lady said, whether or not he can awaken the memories of his past life, I hope he can grow up healthily. Lei Zhengke said, the strange voices in the clan before were just to give him pressure, hoping that he can grow up quickly. Now that all the voices have disappeared, Zichen is in a very quiet environment, which is not conducive to his growth. Moreover, the Saint Spirit world now has strange things happening everywhere. Isn't this similar to the past? Maybe one day, the God realm and the demon realm will descend here. If he can't grow quickly, he won't be able to grow in the chaos. Lei Zhengke paused for a moment before continuing. Without the pressure of the outside world, he will need to exert pressure on himself. Only by quickly becoming a holy sovereign and awakening the coordinates in the depths of his memories will he be able to save the Saint Spirit world. Lei Zhengke sighed and said, you saw with your own eyes what happened that year. After that battle, how many people survived? Moreover, many of the inheritances from back then had disappeared along with the deaths of those experts. You should know very well how powerful the Saint Venerables of that era were. You should also know very well how powerful the Saint Spirits were. If a battle were to break out, do you think anyone would be able to defend this world? The battle back then was indeed very bitter. Even though they won in the end, the Spirit Realm also won a Pyrrhic victory. It was truly miserable back then. Lady was here personally. Looking back at the Thunder Clan back then, there were countless experts. But, how many of them managed to survive? Up until now, he and Lei Zhengke were the only two old friends in the entire Holy Thunder Clan. If the battle from back then were to erupt again, it would be a complete disaster for the existence of this world. Lady nodded and said, I will go and have a talk with him. Lei Zhengke emphasized, not to have a heart-to-heart talk with him, but to give him pressure. Let him think more for those he cares about and those who care about him. Ask him if he is willing to see rivers of blood and the deaths of his loved ones. Lei Zhengke's figure disappeared. Lady looked out the window and muttered, what happened back then? Why did you hide it from me? Lady left the room and went to find Zichen. He had been back for a long time, but Zichen had never come to find him. Lady naturally guessed the reason. Zichen did not want to face him, but he was also in a difficult position. He did not know how to get along with the current Zichen. When Zichen learned that the Holy Sovereign Lady was outside, he was clearly stunned. Why was the Holy Sovereign here? Moreover, he was waiting outside for someone to pass on the message. Zichen finished his cultivation and immediately went out to greet him. After entering, Zichen personally poured tea for Lady. Holy Sovereign, why are you here today? If there is anything you need, you could have sent someone to pass on the message. Lady said, nothing important. I just came to see you and have a chat. Zichen sat across from Lady. If there was nothing important, the Holy Sovereign would not have come. You should already know the reason why I have helped you all these years, right? Lady lowered his head and gently turned the teacup on the table. I know. Zichen said, although it is because of Zichen, I am still very grateful to you. Lady seemed a bit nervous, as if he was facing Zichen. The reason I am telling you this today is not because I want you to thank me. It is because, as a holy sovereign, he found himself at a loss for words and did not know what to say. If you have something to say, just say it. Why are you hemming and hawing? You have already reached the holy sovereign level, but your personality has not changed at all. A dissatisfied voice sounded, and there was one more person in the room. It was the hall spirit, Su. After hearing this voice, Lady's expression changed. He said in surprise, Hall spirit. Who else could it be? Palace spirit, Su said angrily. Your personality has not changed at all. What do you want to say today? Lady said, since you are here, I have nothing to say. You will definitely urge him to cultivate. The tragedy of that year will not happen again. With that, Lady was about to leave. The hall spirit snorted and did not ask him to stay. Wait. Zichen stood up and said. Lady turned his head and looked at Zichen. Zichen said, Holy Sovereign, can you help me send some more things? Chen took out the spells left by the Holy Sovereign last time. Chen had already selected some of them, which were very suitable for his friends. His original plan was to send them himself, but since he saw the Holy Sovereign, it was more appropriate for Di to do it. Because his friends might still be in closed-door cultivation, if they could not see each other, the things would most likely be left in their sects. This required the Holy Sovereign's face. In the future, those things would still be what they deserved after they came out of closed-door cultivation. Chen did not hide anything and directly told Di the origin and value of these things. Di was a bit surprised, but he did not say anything and left with the things. After Di left, the Hall Spirit said, Di is not a talkative person, but the purpose of this visit is not simple. You don't have much time left, so you need to hurry up and cultivate. Chapter 4240. Last time, when Chen refined the Hall of Chen, he was only at the 7-star realm. At that time, Chen was only able to use a portion of the hall's space to bring out all of the vestigial clan members. Other than that, he couldn't obtain anything else. Those cultivation resources were given to Chen by the Hall Spirit using her authority. Now that Chen was at the 8-star realm, perhaps he had even greater authority. Chen wanted to give it a try. But before that, Chen had a question in his mind. How long have you known Di? I've known him since he was very weak, said Hall Spirit Su. At that time, Chen had 2 people with the greatest potential by his side. Their future achievements were limitless. But the war broke out too early, so they couldn't break through. There's another one, asked Chen. Who is that? Lei Tian, said Hall Spirit Su. Compared to the silent Di, Lei Tian is much more talkative. He's also very clever. He's deeply trusted by Master, and many things were given to him to do. Even though he wasn't a saint, Master still favored him. Chen thought back to the scene of Chen and Lei Tian. And that Lei Tian was the Lei Tian he met many years later. But he suddenly disappeared without a trace. Chen asked Di about it, but he said he didn't see him. Chen didn't believe him. Because the 2 of them clearly knew each other, but Di never mentioned it. And how could it be so coincidental that when he appeared, Lei Tian disappeared? Hurry up and try to refine it. Maybe you'll find something amazing. Hall Spirit Su looked at the silent Chen and couldn't help but urge him. Chen collected his thoughts, nodded, and began to refine the hall. This kind of refining was relatively simple. He just had to use his soul power to refine it, or try to sense it. The first thing that entered Chen's perception were various spaces. There were various things in those spaces. Chen tried to use his soul power to open the first space. It was as if some kind of seal had been broken. With a light pop, the space opened. Chen saw jade bottles after jade bottles. There were at least several thousand of them. There was a seal on the mouth of the bottle. It was a type of pill that was not of a low grade. It's the Saint Realm pill. Although it's not very useful for Saint Venerables, it's a good thing for those below Saint Venerables. It can help you break through your own realm without harming your potential. When you break through to 9-star, you can try to refine it. It should speed up your breakthrough. When Chen opened a space, Su Hall Spirit had already sensed it. After all, she would be taking care of these things by herself. Continue. Seeing that Chen's consciousness was still immersed in the first space, Su Hall Spirit urged him to continue. Chen's soul power left the first space and entered the second space. His soul power easily broke through this space, but what appeared in his field of vision was a black stone. The stone was about the size of a human head. It quietly floated there. This is a weapon refining material left behind. If you don't have a suitable weapon right now, you can use it. Without waiting for Chen to agree, Su Hall Spirit said, but I'm afraid you don't have the time. If you want to successfully refine a weapon with this material, you'll need at least several hundred years. Go on to the next space and see what else there is. After opening the third space, Chen saw a jade slip. The jade slip released a bright and dazzling light. Just as Chen's soul power was immersed in this space, a strong hostility emerged from the jade slip. At the same time, there was a powerful aura. This is it, this is it. Su Hall Spirit's calm voice became excited. The war god technique, the most suitable technique for you right now. The hostility was too obvious, so Zichen tried to open the fourth space. However, he was unable to open it. Clearly, as an 8-star soul master, he only had this privilege. However, based on Su Hall Spirit's excited tone, this technique was clearly not ordinary. He was satisfied. He opened his eyes and asked, "What is that?" Su Hall Spirit said, "It's a body technique second only to the Chen technique. Master accidentally obtained it. After carefully studying it, Master discovered that this technique was not inferior to the Chen technique. He wanted to cultivate it, but for some reason, he gave up. The Chen technique, this was a familiar name. Back then, Zichen had mentioned this power. Apart from this, there was also the purple soul and the power of thunder. It was said that these were the 3 most powerful powers in the spirit realm, and they were all obtained by him. Was this war god technique not weaker than the art of Chen? Zichen's heart was filled with anticipation. However, he thought of a question. He asked, "Why not the Chen technique?" Su Hall Spirit said, "Right now, your weakness is your body. Naturally, you should cultivate whatever technique you have. I believe that Master must have left behind the Chen technique, but with your current cultivation, you can't obtain it. You can only obtain it first and then learn it later." In the next moment, a jade slip appeared in Su Hall Spirit's hand. "Comprehend it well. Try to make your body stronger. Let's not talk about how you are compared to Master, but at the very least, you should be stronger than those puppets, right? Those existences that could destroy Zichen with a single punch were all refined puppets." This was something that Su Hall Spirit had told Zichen long ago. She had even used these puppets to attack Zichen. This was the main reason why Su Hall Spirit had appeared this time. With her here, there was no need for Lei Di to supervise. She would make Zichen use his time wisely. After Su Hall Spirit disappeared, Zichen began to comprehend the war god technique. The hostility was still there, and it seemed to be incompatible with soul power. What was reflected in his sea of consciousness was a bright light. Within this light stood a tall figure that looked like a war god. He stood there without moving, but he was as dazzling as the sun, making it impossible to look at him directly. Zichen's soul power was extremely uncomfortable under the light. This feeling was indescribable, as if he had seen his lifelong enemy. Other than this uncomfortable feeling, Zichen couldn't feel anything else. Just as he was about to withdraw his soul remembrance, he saw a ray of light descend from the sky. It was like a small sun that left the sun and arrived in front of Zichen. That intense feeling of hostility seemed to gradually fade with the appearance of this small sun. As it gradually approached, Zichen saw what it was. It was a ball of energy the size of a baby's fist. The energy was viscous like liquid and was extremely dazzling. Within this jade slip space, Zichen extended his soul power hand and touched this energy. In the next moment, this energy disappeared and entered Zichen's body. Chapter 42-41. 3 days later, Zichen walked out of his room. His expression was unsightly. He had yet to start cultivating the war god art, but just the energy conversion alone had nearly taken half his life. That was a completely different kind of energy. It tempered, changed, and assimilated his current physical body. The process was extremely torturous and took a lot of time. Now that he walked out of his room, it was not because he had finished converting his energy, but because he was almost numb from the pain, so he came out for a walk. Walking on the wide street, looking at the bustling crowd and the shops doing well, Zichen felt gratified. When he first brought the Sky Martial continent to the Saint Spirit world, he had nothing. It was not easy for him to accumulate the wealth he had now. More than half of these shops were rented out, and some were directly sold to other families. The current Sky Martial continent had close relations with many families of the Holy Thunder clan. Especially after he had obtained the authority to excavate the Lost World, the development of the Sky Martial continent had sped up. Some of the families were cursing and swearing, but they immediately called people to talk to Xiao Lina about the cooperation between them. Right now, The martial heaven continent had close relations with many powers. As the ruler of this world, Chen could sense the abnormalities on the ground. The mother nest and the queen ant that had come with him were also steadily increasing their realms. They were Chen's hidden strength. Furthermore, in the sky martial continent, there had always been a special training space. There were creatures of different races in there, and as long as they could afford it, they could train as they pleased. At the same time, outside of the sky martial continent, the sacred region where he had obtained Gan Hai was also developing very well. It was just that its grade was not as high as the sky martial continent, and most of the people there were low-grade creatures. Many people who came to the Holy Thunder Clan would also specially come to the sky martial continent to take a look. That was because this was a core world, and it was the world of the famous Chen. Other than those training spaces, Chen's world had many strange and precious things, such as soul weapons and the precious thunder leaf that would occasionally appear in the auction house. Of course, the rich spiritual energy in this world was also a bright spot, and it attracted many holy spirits to stay here. Chen was very famous, but not many people really knew him, so he didn't cause a commotion when he walked on the street. They went to a small restaurant and ate a bowl of authentic local noodles. The owner of the restaurant was an ordinary person who had come with the Tianwu continent. His cultivation talent was limited, and there had never been a holy spirit in his family. However, the restaurant he opened was quite famous. Enduring the discomfort in his body, Chen returned to his residence. Unable to continue cultivating his physical strength, Chen began to study the black piece of armor given to him by the demon god. It was extremely difficult for him to concentrate, but Chen still tried again and again. He discovered a benefit. Even if he couldn't succeed, Chen's soul power would be tempered as long as his soul power came into contact with the armor plate. This discovery made Chen extremely happy. Following this, he spent most of his time strengthening his soul power. Occasionally, he would go out and eat a bowl of noodles from the sky martial continent. Asterisk 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 Chung Ho's injuries had already recovered. Those crazy demons, after suffering a huge loss at Chen's side, did not gain any advantage over them. During this period of fierce attacks, their losses were not small. On this day, after returning from his search, Chung Ho saw that there was no one under the thunder tree, and his mood was slightly depressed. That stinking brat, he already died once. He really doesn't let people have peace of mind. He muttered a few words, then leaned against the thunder tree and closed his eyes to rest. Not long after, Han Enyu returned, travel-worn. Chung Ho glanced at Han Enyu and said, "Why do you have to do this?" During this period of time, Han Enyu often went out. Although she never said what she was going to do, Chung Ho was very clear. When Chen took out the spirit core, no one had the nerve to take it. Instead, Han Enyu took it, but she didn't take it for herself. Instead, she helped to set up a coordinate. Spirit cores were indeed extraordinary, and they were extremely rare treasures. They could be used to teleport to any place, but there was a prerequisite: they had to be there before. For example, after entering the demon realm, they could take the spirit core and return directly. However, if they wanted to go directly to the demon realm, they would need the coordinates of the demon realm. During this period of time, Han Enyu had been busy with this. If we don't use it to its full potential, wouldn't it be a waste? Han Enyu didn't hide anything. Then Chen should be the one to find the coordinates. "Why are you helping him like this?" Chung Ho said. "This is called doing twice the work for half the result. What do you know?" Han Enyu rested under the thunder tree for a short while. After she recovered, she would go to the next place. Asterisk 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 After half a year, Chen's energy was finally fully converted, and his physical strength had greatly improved. He finally condensed a surge of war god's power in his body. Standing in Chen's palace again and looking at the cold figure in front of him, Chen's eyes were filled with confidence. He punched. It was the same punch, but this time Chen activated war god's power. Following an explosion, Chen stood there without moving at all, while his opponent retreated a few steps. Palace Spirit Su watched from the side. This was a contest of physical strength. After grasping War God's power, Zichen's battle strength had clearly increased. And from the looks of it, the War God technique wasn't any weaker than her master's Chen's power. At least, that was the case for now. However, in Palace Spirit Sue's heart, she still believed that Purple Soul and Chen's power were most suitable for her master, and also for Zichen. Now, she just needed to wait for Zichen to slowly grow. Once Zichen's palace unsealed these two techniques, she would urge Zichen to start cultivating them. After walking out of Zichen's palace, Zichen was in a good mood. He planned to eat a bowl of noodles, but just as he walked out of his room, he saw a person standing outside. Bai, the person with extraordinary battle strength from back then. Back then, after losing to Zichen, he came to the Tianwu world and refused to leave. But recently, Zichen hadn't paid any attention to him. He didn't expect him to appear of his own accord today. "Why are you here?" Zichen asked. "Rumors have been flying around recently. Have you heard?" Bai didn't answer, but asked instead. "What rumors?" In the past few days, War God's power had reached a critical juncture. He had been cultivating and hadn't interacted with anyone else, so he didn't know what had happened. Many ruins suddenly appeared in the spirit realm. Some people entered to explore and discovered some sleeping existences. They inadvertently woke them up, Bai said. Zichen's expression changed. "What do you mean?" "I think they're the same as me. After many years of slumber, they've woken up ahead of time. I think it's necessary for you to issue a conscription order and use your name to recruit all the powerful beings who've woken up."